Chapter 795, Yuan arrives. The square was suddenly in an uproar. The four great alchemy saint masters of the Xian continent had gathered together. This was Lieutenant Lingshan's grand ceremony to prove his Tao as a divine alchemist. It was also a grand gathering for the four great divine alchemists. Among the four great divine alchemists, Li Lingshan's alchemy Tao was the strongest, and he was able to refine a peerless mutated pill. However, there was another saint alchemist who was also powerful and heaven-defying. That was Gongsun Piaoyu of the Sky Blue Empire. The appearance of Gongsun Piaoyu shocked all the experts in the Carefree Square. This Gongsun Piaoyu was famous in the Sky Blue Empire and was also the #1 alchemy saint in the Black Continent. However, not many people had seen Gongsun Piaoyu before. He didn't expect Gongsun Piaoyu to be so young. Moreover, his cultivation was so profound and terrifying. In addition to his array Tao and alchemy Tao, Gongsun Piaoyu could be said to be the #1 genius in the Black Continent. With Li Lingtian and Gongsun Piaoyu's heaven-defying talents gathered in Carefree Square, how could these powerhouses not be shocked? Li Lingtian had a faint smile on his face. The corner of his mouth revealed a hint of undetectable killing intent because he could sense Gongsun Piaoyu's killing intent. Gongsun Piaoyu was here to steal his limelight. Sir Ling Tian is known as the #1 alchemy saint in the Black Continent. I'm really curious and would like to see the pills that Sir Ling Tian refines. I wonder if Sir Ling Tian would be willing to let me have a look. When Gongsun Piaoyu saw Li Ling Tian, he was shocked as well. However, to achieve his level of achievement, his joy and anger were invisible and would not show on his face. He kept sizing up Li Lingtian. Although he was only 24 or 25 years old, he had already attained the martial sage realm. Although his cultivation was much lower than the others, Li Lingshan's strength was terrifying. He was originally known as the #1 alchemy saint in the Xian continent, but he did not expect Li Lingtian to steal his title. He had come personally to meet Sir Ling Tian. When he spoke, although his tone was calm, it gave off a feeling that no one could resist. He did not believe that Li Lingtian could defeat a pseudo-martial god no matter how powerful he was. Haha. Haha. Before Li Lingtian could speak, a burst of laughter rang out in the air. The voice was loud and clear, but it was as loud as thunder, causing countless powerhouses' eardrums to hurt. Hearing this laughter, countless experts were shocked. They didn't expect that someone would dare to behave atrociously in this place. It should be known that the experts of Liberty Saint City were gathered here. The four saint alchemists were also gathered here. It could be said that most of the important figures of the Xian continent were gathered here. If it weren't for someone with a super status, this laughter would have been provocative. Sir Ling Tian, I haven't seen you for many years. I didn't expect to see you again in the Black Continent. In just a few short years, you've already become a level 8 alchemy saint. Truly unexpected. After the laughter in the air died down, a grid immediately appeared. Another grid. The appearance of this grid meant that an expert had crossed over. An expert who could cross over was definitely not an ordinary person. In the square, all the experts looked at the grid. In the grid, a figure appeared. However, another person appeared behind this figure. It was an old man. All the powerhouses were curious as they did not recognize the two men. However, Li Lingshan's face revealed a faint smile that was tinged with excitement as if he was meeting an old friend. Your Excellency Pill Master Yuan, long time no see. I didn't expect Pill Master Yuansheng to be in the Black Continent as well. This is really unexpected. The two of them descended from the sky. The old man approached Li Lingtian with an excited smile on his face. The middle-aged warrior who was with him scanned the square. That's right. It was Yuan, the holy alchemist whom Li Lingtian had met in the Tsang state. The two of them had a good relationship. However, after parting ways in Ming City, the two of them never contacted each other again. They didn't expect to meet again in Shenzhou. Apothecary Yuansheng was a member of the Alchemist Guild and had a very high status in the guild. In the entire divine martial continent, all the experts would give him some face. I didn't think that Sir Ling Tian would really reach the level of a pill saint. Furthermore, he's a level 8 pill saint. I knew that Sir Ling Tian's future was limitless, but I didn't expect this day to come so quickly. Come, let me introduce you. This is the 7th commander of the Alchemist Guild's guards, the Ask the Heavens Pavilion. The smile on Alchemy Master Yuan's face widened. Although they had only met once, they had a good impression of Li Lingtian. He did not expect Li Lingtian to become a level 8 divine alchemist so quickly. He was overjoyed. He had come to Xianzhou in search of a medicinal ingredient. However, he was shocked when he heard that Li Lingtian had attained the level 8 divine alchemist realm. He did not expect Li Lingtian to come to Xianzhou and become a level 8 divine alchemist. However, although there were many people with the same name, there were only a few who possessed such powerful alchemy skills. With the same name and alchemy skills, he was certain that it was Li Lingtian. After asking around, they confirmed that Li Lingtian was the young man they met in Sangzhou. He had rushed all the way here and even used the cross-realm formation in the end. As he spoke, he pointed at the middle-aged man behind him with a serious expression. After all, his cultivation had just reached the martial monarch realm. In places like the Black Continent, martial monarch realm was nothing. Even if he was a saint alchemist, he was still worried that some ignorant people would attack him. The alchemists in the Alchemist Guild were powerful in alchemy, but their cultivation was not high. However, there were countless experts who followed the alchemists. It was not surprising that there was a heaven-defying expert beside a saint alchemist. Greetings, Sir Ling Tian. Ask Sky took a step forward and cupped his fists at Li Lingtian with a look of surprise in his eyes. As a martial god powerhouse, even though he was a first firmament martial god, he felt threatened by Li Lingtian. He didn't understand what kind of ability this young man had. A mere first Sky of the martial saint realm could make him, a martial god realm expert, feel threatened. This puzzled him. However, no matter what, a level 8 super alchemy saint who could refine a peerless grade mutated pill was a super figure. In the Alchemist Guild, he was also one of the few super figures. As a guard of the Alchemist Guild, he was naturally incomparably respectful towards alchemy saint masters. Therefore, he took the lead and bowed to Li Lingtian. Sir Wendian, there's no need to be so polite. Li Lingtian smiled with a calm expression on his face. He then gestured for them to sit down. It had only been 10 seconds since Grandmaster Yuan appeared. During this period of time, all the experts were stunned. As they watched Li Lingtian and Apothecary Yuansheng's conversation, they realized that the old man was a super figure in the Alchemist Guild. Furthermore, Apothecary Yuansheng's father was a vice president. This identity could be considered a super figure in the divine martial continent. Grandmaster Yuan. Pill Master Guild's Pill Master Yuansheng. I didn't expect Alchemy Master Yuansheng to come to the Black Continent. Your Excellency Pill Master Yuan. All of a sudden, all the experts were discussing animatedly. Even Gongsun Piaoyu stood up to greet Grandmaster Yuan. Tian Qing and Yu Tian stood up to greet him as well. They were utterly shocked that Li Lingtian had such a backer. They were Pill Saint Masters and members of the Pill Master Guild, but they had never come into contact with a person of status like Pill Saint Yuan. A spirit alchemist and a saint alchemist were nothing in front of the Alchemist Guild. Similarly, Gongsun Piaoyu was puzzled as to why Li Lingtian knew Alchemist Yuansheng. He was definitely one of the top 10 alchemists in the Alchemist Guild. Everyone, you're too polite. I'm only here to congratulate my good friend, Sir Ling Tian. I'm also here to take a look at the medicinal pill that Sir Ling Tian refined. Furthermore, I've brought the blessings of the Alchemist Guild's Elder Committee. When Pill Master Yuan saw that all the experts were greeting him with fawning expressions, his expression immediately became serious as he spoke seriously. His voice also carried a trace of coldness. For a person like him, with such an identity, there was no need to worry about offending anyone. Naturally, he would not allow himself to steal Li Lingshan's limelight by congratulating him. As he spoke, he looked at Li Lingtian with a bitter smile on his face. Naturally, Li Lingtian understood what that bitter smile meant. Thank you, Sir Yuan. This is the pill I refined. Please check and taste it. Li Lingtian smiled sincerely. Even though he had only met Grandmaster Yuan once, he had a good impression of this person. He could be considered a real person for being considerate of him at this time. With that, he activated his divine sense and a jade screen appeared in front of him. Then, he waved his hand and the jade bottle flew towards Grandmaster Yuan. Apothecary Yuan held the jade bottle seriously with an excited expression on his face. Even though he had not personally seen the grade 8 pills in Li Lingshan's jade bottle, he knew Li Lingshan's character and style of handling matters with one hand. He would never do anything he was not confident in. He also understood that the jade bottle contained a tier 8 elixir. He had seen many tier 8 elixirs but he had never seen one refined by Li Lingtian. All of a sudden, all the powerhouses were looking at the jade bottle in Alchemist Yuan's hand. They were eager to witness Li Lingshan's heaven-defying elixir. Ding! Under the expectant gazes of all the experts, the jade bottle was opened. A clear sound rang out. All the experts stared at the jade bottle as their hearts pounded non-stop. The jade bottle was opened. Instantly, all the experts within a radius of 1,000 meters were attracted by a fragrance. This fragrance completely surpassed the medicinal fragrance of ordinary medicinal pills. Instead, it was a kind of fragrance that made one's spirit rouse. A good medicinal pill could be seen from the medicinal fragrance, color, and quality. When they smelled this fragrance, they all revealed an intoxicated expression. This was a tier 8 medicinal pill. Even a martial saint expert would rarely use a tier 8 medicinal pill unless they were trying to find a tier 8 medicinal pill when they were trying to break through to the next realm. Chapter 796, The First Pill Saint. So. With a sound of wind, a pill flew out of the jade bottle. Instantly, everyone's eyes shifted to the medicinal pill at this time. This medicinal pill was like a peerless treasure. The pill was only the size of a thumb, but it emitted a faint halo. Moreover, there were countless array formations on it. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the air, the medicinal pill danced like a lively child. Traces of spirituality were emitted from the medicinal pill. For a moment, all the experts were stunned. His eyes were filled with shock, envy, and greed. Spirituality, powerful spirituality. This is the characteristic of a tier 8 medicinal pill. It's not something that a tier 7 medicinal pill can compare to at all. This spirituality has already reached the tier 8 level. Grandmaster Yuan looked at the pill in the air and inhaled the medicinal fragrance. After a while, she opened her eyes. Then, he said indifferently, and his face could not help but reveal an excited expression. Not bad. This spirituality has already reached the level of a tier 8 medicinal pill. Indeed, only a level 8 saint alchemist can refine a medicinal pill with such spirituality. This is a hurdle that I can only hope to reach. It is indeed a tier 8 medicinal pill. Gongsun Piaoyu also revealed an intoxicated expression. His arrival shocked all the experts and stole countless limelight. No matter what the reason was, whether it was jealousy, unwillingness, or something else. However, when he saw the truly powerful medicinal pill, he had to admit that this medicinal pill was powerful. Because he was a true alchemy genius. Only alchemy experts understood the difficulty of alchemy. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to make any progress. Tian Qjng and Yu Tian were also talking seriously. Just the spirituality alone was not something they could refine. This was the realm. The heaven-defying difference between the 7th and 8th rank was completely different. Color, unable to tell the grade of the pill. However, there are waves of runes on this medicinal pill. These runes can only be left after going through the pill tribulation. In other words, this medicinal pill has already obtained the pill Tribulation and become a mutated medicinal pill. Similarly, there are no impurities on it, which means that it has reached the pinnacle level. Pinnacle grade, mutated, grade 8, spirit concentration pill. Grandmaster Yuan's expression became more and more excited, and his body could not help but tremble. In the end, he slowly told her the information he had obtained. He had also relied on his many years of pill Dao experience and knowledge to appraise it. After saying that, he passed the pill to Gongsun Piaoyu and let the three of them take turns to check. The experts below were all shocked. Their eyes were filled with excitement and envy. Even though he had known that Li Lingtian had attained the level 8 super alchemy saint realm and had some idea of what was going on, he was still shocked when Li Lingtian personally took out such a pill and was appraised by alchemy saint Yuan. That's right. It's an 8th grade mutated peerless spirit concentration pill. Tier 8 spirit concentration pill. It's known as the most difficult pill to refine among the tier 8 pills. It's also the most mysterious and powerful pill. Yes, indeed. The spirit concentration pill is the most mysterious existence among the tier 8 medicinal pills. There is no other. Gongsun Piaoyu, Tian Qjng, and Yu Tian all appraised the pills. Their expressions were solemn, and their bodies began to tremble. After waiting for a long time, he finally told her the results of his appraisal. Congratulations to Your Excellency Ling Tian for becoming a level 8 alchemy saint. Congratulations to Sir Ling Tian for vindicating his Dao as a level 8 saint alchemist. Congratulations, Sir Ling Tian, for your great advancement in your pill Dao. After the few saint alchemists finished appraising, all the powerhouses stood up. He bowed to Li Lingtian. At this moment, Li Lingshan's reputation and status had reached an unprecedented level. The holy alchemists of the Mystic Moon Empire and the Heavenly Sun Empire came to congratulate him. The level 8 holy alchemist of the Sky Blue Empire, Gongsun Piaoyu, also came to congratulate him. Even the Alchemist Guild's alchemist Grandmaster Yuan had come personally. Moreover, it seemed that Li Lingtian had a good relationship with alchemist Grandmaster Yuan. In that case, Li Lingtian had the Alchemist Guild behind him. In addition to Li Lingshan's heaven-defying alchemy skills and terrifying strength, his current status was no longer comparable to a martial saint. Even a martial god powerhouse would have to show some respect. This one has brought the elders of the Alchemist Guild's Elder Committee to congratulate Sir Ling Tian. The current president of the Alchemist Guild congratulates Sir Ling Tian on becoming a level 8 pill saint. On behalf of the Alchemist Guild, I hereby announce that Sir Ling Tian has become the #1 saint alchemist in the divine martial continent. After all the experts bowed and greeted her, Pill Master Yuan said loudly. She also said the blessings of the Pill Master Guild and the president. At the same time, Li Lingtian was given the title of the divine martial continent's first divine alchemist. Although Li Lingtian was not competing with other alchemy saints, he was definitely the best in the divine martial continent for refining peerless pills. This was his specialty. No one in the divine martial continent was able to concoct peerless pills. He was the #1 alchemist in the same level. Even alchemists who were one level higher than him might not be as skilled as him. The divine martial continent's #1 alchemy saint. This wasn't he, the #1 alchemy saint of the Black Continent. This title was definitely an honor for the Black Continent. The entire divine martial continent was incomparably powerful. No matter how powerful a warrior was, he would not dare to claim to be the strongest person in the divine martial continent. The strength of the Black Continent was not comparable to that of the divine continent. Naturally, it was only natural for others to claim to be the strongest person in the divine martial continent. However, Li Lingtian had managed to do it and become the divine martial continent's #1 divine alchemist. Instantly, the entire Liberty Square erupted in cheers. Countless experts and the citizens of Liberty's sacred city cheered at this moment. This was because the young master of Liberty's sacred city was the #1 sacred alchemist in the divine martial continent. This reputation was enough to shake the entire divine martial continent. From then on, Liberty's sacred city would be famous throughout the divine martial continent. Congratulations, Sir Ling Tian. Congratulations, Sir Ling Tian. Congratulations, Sir Ling Tian. In an instant, countless powerhouses bowed to Li Lingtian and he nodded in return. At the same time, Gongsun Piaoyu and the others congratulated Li Lingtian. Gongsun Piaoyu was upset. Initially, Li Lingtian had become the #1 alchemy saint in the Xian continent and had taken away his title. He was prepared to seek advice from Li Lingtian, but he did not expect Li Lingshan's pills to have such a peerless mutation. Now that Lieutenant Ling Tian was still the #1 divine alchemist in the divine martial continent, he had completely disregarded the #1 divine alchemist in the Xian continent. He was beginning to feel disgruntled that the title of the #1 divine alchemist in the Xian continent had been snatched away by Li Lingtian. It was only now that he realized how far the difference between the #1 divine alchemist in the Xian continent and the #1 divine alchemist in the divine martial continent was. Li Lingtian was the #1 divine alchemist in the divine martial continent, but he was not the #1 divine alchemist in the Xian continent. Sir Ling Tian, this is the alchemist badge that the Alchemist Guild asked me to bring. Similarly, the Alchemist Guild will reward every alchemist with a pill formula that they are currently using and a high-grade pill formula. This way, it will be easier for them to comprehend. I hope that Sir Ling Tian can use the Soul Formation pill to prove himself as a level 9 God pill refiner in the immortal realm one day. With a smile on his face, Pill Master Yuan waved his hand, and the cheers in the carefree square instantly disappeared. The entire square temporarily fell silent. Then, he took out a badge. The entire badge was only 2 inches long, and the badge in his hand was completely purple gold. There was an exquisite purple gold flower carved on the badge. There were 8 mysterious engravings around the purple gold flower. The entire badge was extremely mysterious. At this moment, the badge represented a kind of glory in the eyes of all the experts. It represented an ultimate glory. This badge was a supreme existence even in the divine martial continent. On top of the badge, there was the word Ling Tian. On the back of the badge there were the words Divine Martial Continent's #1 Divine Alchemist that were shining with a dazzling light. Furthermore, the badge was covered with countless arrays. Li Lingtian could sense a mystical power contained within the badge. This power was enough to destroy a martial god powerhouse. He didn't know what was inside the badge, but it was definitely an ultimate treasure. Grandmaster Yuan stepped forward and personally helped Li Lingtian put on the badge with a smile on his face. Following that, he handed 2 pill formulas to Li Lingtian. This badge can only be found in the Alchemist Guild. It was specially forged by the Alchemist Guild. Don't look down on this badge. It can block an attack from any martial god expert. After Alchemy Master Yuan handed the pill formula to Li Lingtian, he said a few words calmly. His voice was not loud, but many people heard him. All the experts were shocked. The Alchemist Guild's badge was one thing, but this pill formula was a Tier 9 Soul Formation pill. Only a Tier 9 Divine Alchemist could use it. The Alchemist Guild had given this pill formula to Li Lingtian so that he could study it and perhaps achieve a breakthrough. Furthermore, it was the news that shocked all the powerhouses when they heard Grandmaster Yuan's words that she hoped Li Lingtian could prove himself as a Tier 9 Divine Pill Refiner in the Celestial Realm. The Immortal Realm was a magical place in the Divine Continent. It was also the headquarters of the Alchemist Guild. Those who could enter the Immortal Realms were all heaven-defying experts. Only heaven-defying experts were qualified to enter the Immortal Realms. It can withstand a strike from a martial god expert. This badge can block an attack from any martial god expert. How powerful must such a treasure be? So heaven-defying? It can withstand a blow from any martial god expert. A level 8 Saint Alchemist badge blocking an attack from a martial god expert. This is too heaven-defying. For a moment, countless experts exclaimed. The badge in Li Lingshan's hand was able to withstand a blow from a martial god powerhouse. It was truly terrifying. In this way, this was also reasonable. A Tier 8 alchemy saint was a super figure in the Alchemy Master Guild, so he naturally had to prevent others from plotting against him. If there was a treasure that could resist the plot of a martial god expert, it could at least save this alchemy saint's life. Chapter 797, Saint Alchemist Badge, 1. Haha, 11. This badge can only be used by Pavilion Ling Tian. Therefore, the badge's power can only be displayed in the hands of Pavilion Ling Tian. 11. However, this badge is a destructive weapon. If it falls into the hands of others, it will definitely die. It can also deal a destructive blow to a martial god expert. Grandmaster Yuan laughed loudly. He didn't want countless experts to fight over this badge. If that was the case, not only would it not help Li Lingtian, it would harm him instead. Therefore, he had revealed the might of the badge and its terror. This way, the powerhouses who were eyeing the badge would give up. Besides, with Li Lingshan's cultivation base, even ordinary powerhouses would not dare to have any designs on him. Following that, Li Lingtian and the 4 holy alchemists left the plaza while the other powerhouses celebrated the grand ceremony. Since Yun Xiaofeng was in this place, Li Lingtian naturally did not bother with him. Communicating with a saint alchemist was a way for alchemists to celebrate a grand ceremony. This time, Li Lingtian was destined to become famous throughout the world and become one of the top powerhouses in the divine martial continent. He was definitely a supreme existence in alchemy. The celebration ended after a day. Countless powerhouses returned to their respective countries and gained a new understanding of Li Lingshan's strength. In the hearts of all powerhouses, they had the same thought that they would rather offend the martial god than Li Lingtian. This was because Li Lingshan's strength was comparable to a martial god and he was the god of warriors. As a saint alchemist, the pills he refined were extremely miraculous. Behind Li Lingtian was the Alchemist Guild. Even if the Alchemist Guild did not step forward to help Li Lingtian, the treatment they gave Li Lingtian was almost beyond compare. The title of the divine martial continent's #1 alchemy saint was enough to make countless experts come to surrender and follow him. Coupled with Li Lingshan's status in the Alchemist Guild in Xianzhou, few powerhouses dared to offend him. On the second day, the saint alchemists bade farewell and left Liberty Sacred City. Sir Ling Tian, even though you've reached level 8 Saint Alchemist, your current situation isn't good. If all the kingdoms join forces to deal with your Liberty Sacred City, you won't have much of a chance of winning. If Sir Ling Tian needs it, you can look for the Alchemist Guild. At that time, the Alchemist Guild will definitely help Sir Ling Tian fend off some irresistible forces. Apothecary Yuan turned to Li Lingtian as he left the palace. During this period of time in Xianzhou, he had learned a lot about the matters of Liberty Sacred City and had a general idea of the current situation in Liberty Sacred City. It would not be a good thing for the Alchemist Guild if an alchemy genius like Li Lingtian was killed by other powerhouses. Moreover, if they managed to rope in a monster like Li Lingtian now, it would bring endless benefits to the Alchemist Guild in the future. Don't worry, Sir Yuan, Lingtian will definitely take note of it. If there's really something, I will look for the Alchemist Guild. Li Lingtian smiled. Regardless of Yuan's intentions, at least she was a good person. Besides, in this world, who didn't do it for benefits? Then I can rest assured. However, Sir Lingtian, please pay attention to Gongsun Piaoyu. Although Gongsun Piaoyu is also a member of the Alchemist Guild, this person is too terrifying. Moreover, he won't let off any geniuses that are stronger than him. You've already become a thorn in Gongsun Piaoyu's side. Although you haven't shown it on the surface for the time being, the two of you will face each other one day. After Grandmaster Yuan finished speaking, she left. The martial god Wentian also left. Li Lingtian waited until Apothecary Yuan had left before returning to the palace. It took half a month for Liberty Sacred City to return to its former peace. However, Li Lingtian had already announced that he would attack the 4 kingdoms. This was because the main members of the 4 kingdoms had not arrived this time. Only a small number of powerhouses had arrived and most of them were here to curry favor with Li Lingtian. Since the 4 kingdoms had attacked him while he was in seclusion, they were planning to destroy the Carefree dynasty and him. With such an enemy, it was difficult to vent his hatred without killing him. Besides, it was not Li Lingshan's style to tolerate such a situation. Moreover, Li Lingtian had always wanted to unify the Mystic Moon Empire. Now that he had made a breakthrough, it was only natural for him to make a move. As for the 4 great kingdoms, it was just an excuse for Li Lingtian. The 3 legions of the Carefree dynasty, as well as some ordinary armies, received the final order to attack the 100 Spirit Kingdom. Immediately, the Army of Liberty Holy City headed straight for the border of the 100 Spirit Kingdom. The 9-headed war god also headed towards the border of the 100 Spirit Kingdom. The remaining war god was for Li Lingshan's own use. This war was a war between kingdoms. Li Lingtian would not allow Liberty's sacred city to suffer a setback and destroy 100 Spirit Kingdom. After that, he would attack the other kingdoms. The Great Shang Kingdom was no longer his target, so he would wipe it out when the time came. Since the 4 great kingdoms had come to seek death, they would start with them. The Southwind Kingdom, 100 Spirit Kingdom, Epsilon Kingdom, and Heaven's Roar's Kingdom all wanted to wipe out the Carefree dynasty. Otherwise, they would not have sent tens of millions of troops to attack Carefree's sacred city. The army of more than 4 million marched toward 100 Spirit Kingdom. Now that the morale of Liberty Holy City had been boosted, Li Lingshan's cultivation had improved tremendously. He had become the #1 alchemy saint and he had all sorts of heaven-defying means. Naturally, the army below was filled with confidence. The 9-headed war god led the most powerful divine martial army and divine dragon army, while the divine wind army led the rest of the army to attack the 100 Spirit Kingdom. For a moment, the entire Mystic Moon Empire was shaken. Firstly, Li Lingtian had just attained the rank of martial saint when the 4 kingdoms joined forces to attack him. In the end, he killed the martial god and another martial god powerhouse before the alchemy saint celebration. With such strength, he was indeed qualified to dominate the world. Furthermore, a celebration was held to celebrate the success of the Saint Alchemist and invite all the experts in the world. And now, he had ordered the attack on the 4 kingdoms. The entire empire was filled with smoke. Boom! 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 With a shocking aura, the millions of soldiers headed straight for the various cities of the 100 Spirit Kingdom. Wherever they passed, they would be invincible. The Carefree dynasty's army was like a sharp arrow that pierced through the defenses of the 100 Spirit Kingdom. Wherever it passed, every city could not resist at all. The 9-headed war god continued to bombard the 100 Spirit Kingdom's army. Even the martial saints were dying. The Carefree dynasty's army rarely attacked cities. They had the war god. The army was only cleaning up the battlefield and doing the final killing. Let's go. Although the 100 Spirit Kingdom doesn't have any heaven-defying martial god powerhouses, there are quite a few 9th Firmament martial saints. The overall strength of our army is not bad, but there are no experts at the 6th or 7th sky of the martial saint realm, let alone the super experts at the 8th or 9th sky. After Li Lingtian finished his cultivation, he calculated the time and found that the Carefree dynasty's army had been fighting for half a month. Although they had been invincible along the way, he knew that the 100 Spirit Kingdom's true strength was being gathered for the final battle. Li Lingtian did not want the Carefree dynasty to suffer any damage in this crucial battle. He could not let their morale suffer a blow. Moreover, Yun Ao Tian and Tian Chengzi's cultivation realms had also stabilized. Although they could not casually make a move now, they would still make a move if they were in danger. Freedom Saint City had nothing else to do. They were going to attack other cities. The other kingdoms would not provoke the Freedom Dynasty because all the factions were with the army. Liberty's sacred city was merely a worldly possession to a powerhouse like Li Lingtian. Yeah, we can go out and play. Although it's a big battle, there's no need for us to fight. We can enjoy the scenery of the Mystic Moon Empire. I don't know when this war will end. We can't stay in Liberty's sacred city every day. Huangfu Yuan said with a smile. Tian had been in Liberty Saint City for a long time, but she had also started to feel frustrated. Although this battle was dangerous, it was nothing to them. Taking advantage of the great battle, he could go out and play. Sister Yuan is right. I'll go prepare now. Big brother Ling Tian, wait a moment. Xianyuan Yingying was extremely happy. For martial artists, what they liked the most was to travel the world. Conquering the world like this was not their life. Moreover, she loved to play and couldn't stop. Next, the girls began to prepare and pack the things they needed for daily use. In less than half an hour, all the girls were ready. They gathered in the garden in the palace and waited for Li Lingtian to bring them out of the palace. Uncle, can I play outside? Everyone was gathered together. Xianyuan Xingxing pouted her rosy lips and tugged at Li Lingxian's shirt coquettishly. She looked extremely adorable, causing the girls to burst into laughter when they saw her. All right, they'll bring you to the war god. After all, you'll all be able to come out once we're on the war god. Li Lingtian said with a smile before activating the divine dragon ring with his divine consciousness. He called Tang Qingyue and the others into the divine dragon ring. Then, he gave an order, and the war god moved to the sky above the palace. He pondered for a moment, then quickly entered the war god. Head to 100 Spirit Royal City. Li Lingtian told Longda after he arrived on the war god. The war god was filled with the powerhouses of the war god legion. The war god legion now had more than 3,000 people. Furthermore, Yun Aotian and his companion were also on the war god. This war god was Li Lingxian's personal war god. Its power and speed were stronger than the others because Li Lingtian had changed it a lot. This subordinate will obey. Longda bowed respectfully and left before walking into the war god. The war god was the strongest force in Liberty Holy City and also Li Lingxian's foundation. As for the other armies, there were also countless martial arts saints in them. However, those martial arts saints were not the experts of the war god legion. Then, the war god flew towards the 100 Spirit capital city. The huge war god disappeared into the horizon in the blink of an eye. Chapter 798, 100 Spirit Kingdoms Decision, 1. After the war god left Liberty Holy City, Li Lingtian returned to the top of the war god. The war god was many times more powerful than before. Naturally, the place they were staying in was also the best place on the war god. The top 3 floors were forbidden areas because it belonged to Li Lingtian and the others. The rich spiritual energy and the spacious environment were definitely a mobile cultivation environment. Li Lingtian came to the deck and looked at the rapidly moving war god with a faint smile on his face. Qingxing, are you cultivating or playing here? Li Lingtian asked with a smile as he looked at Qing beside him. Qing and the others had been to the war god countless times. They were familiar with their rooms and training areas. It was as if they were in a palace. Uncle, I'll just play here. It's not easy for me to come out. Qingxing will play for a while before cultivating. Xianyuan Xingxing answered without hesitation when Li Lingtian asked if she was cultivating or playing. With a little girl like her around, it was naturally fun. Moreover, he had been in the palace for this period of time and had no chance to come out at all. It was the same in the past. In Qing Xian's imperial palace, he rarely left the palace. He only had the chance to leave the palace to play after following Li Lingtian. Now that he had just left the palace, he would not cultivate. Li Lingtian did not say anything when he saw this. He activated the divine dragon ring and called Huangfu Yuan and the others out. Suddenly, the war god became extremely lively. Apart from Huangfu Yuan and Tang Qingyue, the rest of the girls were all very playful. They were all as happy as children. Only Tang Qingyue and Huangfu Yuan were snuggling up to Li Lingtian. The rest of them were sitting on chairs admiring the cloudless sky and chattering away from time to time. Before the Carefree Dynasty's army was dispatched, the 100 Spirit Kingdom had already begun preparations. Ever since the armies of the 4 kingdoms were wiped out and Li Lingtian showed up in a domineering manner to kill all the powerhouses and martial gods, the 100 Spirit Kingdom knew that their kingdom had lost all hope because it was a gamble. They would either bet on Li Lingxian's death or their kingdom's destruction. Now, Li Lingtian was still alive and had become even more heaven-defying. Coupled with Li Lingshan's current status, the carefree dynasty was unstoppable. Naturally, the 100 Spirit Kingdom was the first stepping stone. Now, Li Lingshan's strength is heaven-defying. His 3 armies and the war god have already annexed the 8 kingdoms of the 100 Spirit Kingdom. Judging from the current situation, the carefree dynasty's army will arrive at the 100 Spirit capital city within a month. I wonder if any of you have any ideas? Sima Qing, the king of 100 Spirit Kingdom, had a numb expression on his face. He was extremely afraid of how powerful Liberty's sacred city was. Although the carefree dynasty's army didn't have many experts, the 3 legions were very powerful. They also had the war god. The main reason was that Li Lingshan's strength was too terrifying. Li Lingtian alone could sweep through 100 Spirit Kingdom. Currently, the entire 100 Spirit Kingdom was in a state of panic. There was also a serious problem. Li Lingshan's alchemy Dao was so powerful that most powerhouses did not want to go against him. Even if it was a country in Xianzhou, there were only warriors in those countries. The last thing a warrior wanted to do was to provoke an alchemist. Furthermore, Li Lingtian was the #1 holy alchemist in the divine martial continent. Naturally, such a saint alchemist was definitely the god of martial emperor, martial saint, and martial god powerhouses. Only the medicinal pills of a level 8 saint alchemist could make their cultivation improve greatly. Only they could give them more opportunities to break through. Li Lingtian was a super divine alchemist and the #1 divine alchemist in the divine martial continent. The pills he refined were peerless and mutated. Naturally, such pills were the greatest temptation to martial emperors and martial saints. Your Majesty, for the sake of the hundreds of millions of citizens of the 100 Spirit Kingdom, you should give up. Li Lingtian has the right timing, the right place, and the right people. His methods are powerful and heaven-defying, and his status is unparalleled. Furthermore, he has the hidden backing of the Alchemist Guild. If a war really breaks out, the 100 Spirit Kingdom will lose its support. Yao Feng, a 9th heavenly layer martial saint, was one of the few super powerhouses in the 100 Spirit Kingdom. In a kingdom like the 100 Spirit Kingdom, there were no martial god powerhouses. Only the 9th heavenly layer martial saint was the strongest. His status was naturally very important. Even when facing the king, he didn't dare to offend him. This won't do. The 100 Spirit Kingdom has already attacked the Carefree Dynasty from the start. Now, the Carefree Dynasty is attacking the 100 Spirit Kingdom with all their might. If we give up, the 100 Spirit Kingdom will disappear into the long river of history forever. Could it be that Your Excellency Yao Feng is willing to live under someone else's roof? Or does Your Excellency Yao Feng wish to follow Li Lingtian? After Yao Feng finished speaking, Zhou Yunchuan did not wait for the king to speak and quickly stood up. He was also a 9th heavenly layer martial saint, and his status was on par with Yao Feng's strength. The two of them had always been at odds and were enemies at all times. The Carefree Empire isn't just targeting the 100 Spirit Kingdom. It's targeting the entire Mystic Moon Empire and the Black Continent. Our 100 Spirit Kingdom is just a stepping stone. Don't you see this? If we resist, the hundreds of millions of citizens of the 100 Spirit Kingdom will vanish into thin air. You must know that Li Lingtian is confident in his ability to dominate the world. According to my understanding, Li Lingtian never does anything he's not confident in. Besides, Li Lingshan's current strength is comparable to a martial god. 2 martial god powerhouses have fallen in his hands. Moreover, he has a Tier 9 first-class star glory who possesses all sorts of heaven-defying techniques. Could it be that Sir Yunchuan is confident in killing Li Lingtian? Even if you're the martial god, you can't kill him because he has the Alchemist Guild's badge. If you can't kill Li Lingtian, then just wait for Li Lingshan's destructive revenge and the Alchemist Guild's punishment. Yao Feng said loudly. He knew a lot about the current situation. Now, he understood that Zhou Yunchuan was deliberately going against him. For the sake of their personal grudge, he actually went against the Carefree Empire. This was completely disregarding the billions of citizens of the 100 Spirit Kingdom. Hearing Yao Feng's words, all the experts were stunned. For a moment, the hall was extremely quiet, and the atmosphere was tense and strange. Similarly, everyone present was a powerhouse, at least a martial saint powerhouse. Naturally, they understood Li Lingshan's strength and the current situation. If they were to go against Li Lingtian, they would be asking for trouble. Moreover, even if the 100 Spirit Kingdom really wanted to go against the Freedom Dynasty, there would definitely be countless experts who would not agree. The celebration at Liberty Holy City was a good example. Even though the 100 Spirit Kingdom and Liberty Holy City were at loggerheads, countless powerhouses from the 100 Spirit Kingdom still went to Liberty Holy City to congratulate Li Lingtian. Sigh, this is a world where the strong are respected. We can't stop Li Lingshan's rise from the Freedom King dynasty. The 100 Spirit Kingdom wants to kill Li Lingtian to change the kingdom's fate, but Li Lingtian is too heaven-defying. This is the will of the heavens. As long as we can protect the billions of citizens of the 100 Spirit Kingdom, the 100 Spirit Kingdom is willing to submit to the Carefree dynasty. I believe that with Li Lingshan's status, he won't make things difficult for the citizens of the 100 Spirit Kingdom. Sima Qin watched the situation in the main hall with an ever-changing expression on his face. How could he not know how powerful Li Lingtian was? The Freedom Dynasty's attack on the 100 Spirit Kingdom was not targeted at the 100 Spirit Kingdom at all. The 100 Spirit Kingdom was just a stepping stone for the Freedom Dynasty to conquer the world. The Freedom Dynasty's goal was the entire Xianzhou, and even the entire Divine Martial Continent. There were two reasons why the Carefree Empire attacked the 100 Spirit Kingdom. Firstly, Li Lingtian had found a good excuse. Secondly, the 100 Spirit Kingdom was the Carefree Empire's first stepping stone. With Li Lingshan's strength and means, it would be a piece of cake for the Carefree Dynasty to sweep the 100 Spirit Kingdom. If the 100 Spirit Kingdom resisted, the 100 Spirit Kingdom would vanish into thin air. As the king of the 100 Spirit Kingdom, he was not very powerful, but he knew better than anyone else that power was closely related to one another. The Freedom Empire only had one goal when they attacked all the kingdoms, and that was to target the Mystic Moon Empire and the Mystic Continent. The 100 Spirit Kingdom followed the Mystic Moon Empire and the Carefree Empire. It was no longer realistic to rely on the Mystic Moon Empire. Only by following the Carefree Empire could they have a chance of survival. At least now, the Carefree Empire was close to the 100 Spirit Kingdom. Either submit, or vanish into thin air. If they submitted now, the 100 Spirit Kingdom would still be the 100 Spirit Kingdom. If they resisted, the 100 Spirit Kingdom would disappear forever. After thinking for a long time, he finally decided. After Sima Qin made his decision, all the experts heaved a sigh of relief. Although they didn't want to become the subjects of a subjugated nation, they didn't want their hometowns to be destroyed, and they didn't want to fall either. Now that Sima Qin had agreed to submit, many matters had naturally been resolved. To them, the 100 Spirit Kingdom had not changed its master, nor had it submitted to them. It had only changed its empire. All of a sudden, the various kingdoms and cities under the 100 Spirit Kingdom opened their gates wide, refusing to fight the Army of Liberty Holy City. This situation puzzled the Army of Liberty Holy City. However, since they had encountered such a situation, the Carefree Dynasty's army did not stop. On the contrary, they increased their speed and quickly headed towards 100 Spirit Capital City. Li Lingtian was also puzzled when he received the news. What do you guys think? Li Lingtian relayed the news to Tang Qinyue and the others. The more people there were, the more suggestions there were. He also wanted to see what Tang Qinyue and the others thought. After all, it was indeed strange that the 100 Spirit Kingdom did not fight. However, the Carefree Dynasty's army had already made up their mind. They would not back down. If they stopped because of the 100 Spirit Kingdom, they would not be able to conquer the world. After saying that, he looked at Huangfu Yuan and the others, waiting for them to speak. He also began to ponder. He naturally did not expect that most of the experts in the 100 Spirit Kingdom were willing to submit. He had never expected that the Xiaoyao Empire's army would surrender even before they reached the city. Chapter 799. The army arrives at 100 Spirit Capital City. There are only two situations. Firstly, the 100 Spirit Kingdom doesn't have the heart to resist. Rather than being destroyed, it's better to submit. After all, submitting to the Freedom Empire is submitting, and submitting to the Mystic Moon Empire is also submitting. They are the closest to our Xiaoyao Empire. If they were not afraid of our Xiaoyao Empire, they would not have taken the risk to attack our Xiaoyao Empire. Now that the Xiaoyao Empire has survived, they already know that they have failed. Resisting will only lead to destruction and death. Secondly, the 100 Spirit Kingdom must be plotting something to lure the Carefree Dynasty's army to the 100 Spirit Capital City and wipe them out. But that's impossible, because they already know the strength of our Carefree Empire. Even if we destroy the Carefree Empire, we won't be able to destroy you unless a few martial god experts ambush you. Huangfu Yuan pondered for a long time before slowly analyzing the situation. Tang Genji and the others nodded in agreement. Other than these two options, the 100 Spirit Kingdom had no other choice. They had to submit or engage in a war of destruction. However, neither of these options would benefit the 100 Spirit Kingdom at all, and they would not stop Xiaoyao Wang Chao. Yuan's words make sense. Both of these factors have a 50-50 chance. After all, the Carefree Kingdom's overall strength isn't strong enough to be a match for the 100 Spirit Kingdom. They're afraid of me. Also, if they want to defeat me, they won't dare to do so unless 3 or 4 Martial God Realm experts join hands. No Martial God Realm expert is a fool, but the number of Martial God Realm experts in the Xian continent can be counted on 10 fingers. It won't be easy to find 3 or 4 martial gods working together, let alone a kingdom. Where can we find 3 or 4 martial gods? After listening to her, Li Lingtian began to analyze the situation based on Huangfu Yuan's analysis. A bunch of girls voiced out their opinions, but they were more or less the same. The war god quickly flew into the distance. No matter what conspiracy the 100 Spirit Kingdom had, the Carefree Dynasty would not stop. As an expert, he had the heart of an expert. At this time, he would also face the difficulties head-on. Right, Ling Tian, what's up with that gorilla demon of yours? Tang Genji asked curiously as she looked at Li Lingtian. Although the gorilla demon had been in the Divine Dragon Ring, it had not shown any signs of life ever since it perished. She did not expect it to be resurrected this time. Furthermore, this gorilla demon even advanced from Tier 8 to Tier 9. It indeed exceeded their imaginations. They had experienced the terror of the gorilla demon. Li Lingtian had relied on the gorilla demon to wipe out the Azure continent. During this period of time, Li Lingtian had faced countless dangers alone. If the gorilla demon was around, it would not have been so difficult. They did not know about the gorilla demon's resurrection either. Some time ago, they witnessed Li Lingtian killing a martial god powerhouse on the mountaintop. The gorilla demon had contributed greatly to this. When I killed Wudao last time, I obtained the Demon King's Pearl. The power of the Demon King's Pearl is extremely mystical. I didn't think that the Demon King's Pearl would be able to revive the gorilla demon. I only wanted to give it a try. Who would have thought that not only would the gorilla demon be revived, but it would also break through to the first level of the 9th step. A first level gorilla demon is equivalent to a first firmament war god expert. Li Lingtian replied with a smile. Apart from his breakthrough, Li Lingtian entered the Divine Dragon Ring to inspect some of the treasures he had obtained and organize them. When he saw the Demon King's Pearl, he thought of the gorilla demon. This was an opportunity. If he did not obtain the Demon King's Pearl, he would not have been able to find a way to revive the gorilla demon. He could have used the true dragon's blood to revive the gorilla demon in the future. After reviving the gorilla demon, he had used it. Although he had not killed the black-robed old man's clone, he had still restrained one of the clones. Now that there's the gorilla demon, I believe that most kingdoms will be anxious. In addition, your cultivation is equivalent to 2 martial god experts. Moreover, you have the ice and snow summoning spell. The ice goddess clone you summon can easily kill a martial god expert. Oh right, big brother Ling Tian, do you know that snow goddess? Xianyuan Yingying asked curiously. She had met the snow goddess clone twice. The first time was to kill Li Lingtian, but she knew that the clone had gone easy on him on purpose. They were curious as to why the snow goddess went easy on Li Lingtian, but none of them asked him. This time, he met the snow goddess clone again. This time, she was here to help Li Lingtian. The summon powerhouses would not have any personal feelings, but this snow goddess clone had personal feelings for Li Lingtian. Otherwise, Li Lingtian would not be an exception. Others thought that Li Lingtian was flirting with the snow goddess clone. However, Xianyuan Yingying understood Li Lingshan's personality. Even if he saw a beautiful woman, he would not act like that. This was because each of them was a peerless beauty. Furthermore, there were a few girls who had yet to touch them. Naturally, they would not go out and mess around. Besides, with his status and identity, coupled with his elegance, all the girls in the world would fall for him. He would not easily interact with other girls. I really don't know her. In my memory, she was a super mighty figure in the upper realm. Besides, we can't get along like fire and water. She's the ice goddess, and I'm the flaming sacred body. Li Lingtian shook his head. He was already used to reincarnation in this world. His transmigration was also a true reincarnation. Li Suifeng and his wife were still unaware of this. However, Tang Zhenji and the others knew that because Qjng Ling had also obtained the inheritance, it was normal for some ancient mighty figures to reincarnate in the divine martial continent. It was just that very few people knew about it. When the time comes, if husband leaves this ice goddess behind, there's no need to summon her. We wouldn't mind having one more sister. Sister Yuan, Sister Zhenji, what do you think? Shan Meier had a faint smile on her face as she looked at Li Lingtian. After she finished speaking, she turned to Huangfu Yuan and the others. Suddenly, everyone on the war god broke out in laughter. You little girl, how dare you laugh at me? But it's not bad to have one more fighter. Are you used to his cold aura? Li Lingtian reached out and pinched Shan Meier's cheek with a relaxed smile on his face. It would have been fine if they did not mention it. However, Li Lingshan's heart stirred when they mentioned the snow goddess. If he could make the snow goddess his lackey, he would not need to summon her anymore. He was also curious. This time, the snow goddess was like a delicate girl, which made him a little afraid. If the snow goddess heard you say that, I wonder what she would be like. Every time I summon it, it's only 1,000th of the ice goddess avatar. I wonder what the real ice goddess looks like. It should be a peerless goddess. Huangfu Yuan was extremely curious when she saw her sisters laughing at Li Lingtian. Just imagine the snow goddess being the ultimate mighty figure in the upper realm. If she heard Li Lingshan's words, who knew what kind of expression she would have? Well, no, when the time comes. Li Lingshan's lips curled into a smile as he looked into the void. The army of the Freedom Kingdom had already passed by. Wherever the war god passed by, cities and countries would submit. This was because the flags of all the cities and countries had been changed to the word Xiaoyao. Wherever the word Xiaoyao appeared, it would be the world of the Xiaoyao dynasty. At this moment, the millions of soldiers of the Xiaoyao dynasty had already arrived at the city. Rumble. 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 Those who obey will prosper, and those who rebel will die. Sweep the black continent and unify the world. Those who obey will prosper, and those who rebel will die. Sweep the black continent and unify the world. In front of the 100-spirit capital city, millions of soldiers were gathered in a black mass. Their shocking aura soared into the sky from thousands of miles away. Heaven and earth trembled in front of this sound, and the space trembled. The war god had already arrived a day ago. However, they had to wait for the other armies of the Freedom Dynasty. Now, the 3 legions and 1 million regular legions had arrived 10,000 miles away from 100-spirit capital city. As the commander of the 3 legions, Marshal Saint Ming Luo's position in the army had reached its peak. This was because the entire army understood that the world belonged to Li Lingtian and the army belonged to Marshal Saint Ming Luo. Marshal Saint Ming Luo was also Li Lingshan's subordinate. Loyalty to Marshal Saint Ming Luo was equal to loyalty to Li Lingtian. As long as they served Li Lingtian, they would be loyal to him. Marshal Saint Ming Luo used to be a super expert, but she had led the army many times and had her own set of experiences. Morale would affect the outcome of the battle. The Freedom Dynasty did not lack strength, experts, or morale. However, they had to raise their morale to the maximum and use it to suppress the 100 Spirit Kingdom. The army of millions was made up of martial arts grandmasters, martial emperors, martial supremes, and martial emperors. When such experts gathered in the millions, their might would be earth-shattering. Heaven and earth trembled at this moment, and terrifying sound waves struck the 9 heavens. Boom! 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 The ground trembled under his feet, and the mountains shook continuously. The tens of millions of soldiers in the 100 Spirit capital city were also shocked, and they saw this aura. The entire Mystic Moon Empire was well aware of Li Lingshan's reputation and the strength of the Carefree Empire. Now that they were going up against Li Lingshan's Carefree Empire, their hearts began to tremble. Those who obey will prosper, and those who rebel will die. Sweep the Black Continent and unify the world. The morale of the army grew stronger and stronger. The millions of soldiers gradually approached the 100 Spirit capital city. Soldiers were cunning, but the 3 armies of millions were completely suppressed by the destructive power. This was a battle between 2 kingdoms, a contest of strength. It was not something that a single expert could control. Unless it was a powerhouse like Li Lingtian, even a martial saint powerhouse could not affect the outcome of the battle. When faced with a powerhouse like Li Lingtian who could easily destroy the world and kill the opponent's powerhouse, an army would be useless no matter how many troops they had. Chapter 800, 9 Heavens Destruction Formation. Rumble. The war god's roar was filled with the aura of destruction. It was a cold aura of death. This destructive aura made the army and experts of the 100 Spirit capital city tremble. However, the first rule of the army was to obey. Without orders from above, they did not dare to show fear, let alone escape. Moreover, the Freedom Dynasty only needed 4 million soldiers, while the 100 Spirit capital city had 10 million. Li Lingtian is indeed powerful. In just 2 short years, he's managed to build the Carefree Dynasty into such a formidable force. On the city wall of 100 Spirit capital city, countless experts were extremely shocked. The former Moonsong Kingdom was wiped out by Li Lingtian to create the Carefree Dynasty. Its current strength was countless times stronger than the former Moonsong Kingdom. Morale was a stark contrast to strength. If the Carefree Dynasty did not have the strength, the army would not have the confidence. Li Lingtian was the confidence of the Carefree Dynasty. The number 1 divine alchemist and the genius martial saint who had killed the martial god were all unique existences in the divine martial continent. The king of the 100 Spirit Kingdom, come out and speak. Martial Saint Ming Luo's war god flew forward for a while and came to a place 100 miles away from Bailing capital city. His aura was shocking. He had reached the 5th heaven of the martial saint realm, but his confidence was not something that even an 8th or 9th heaven martial saint would have. This was the aura of a powerful commander. When he was in the 100 Spirit Kingdom, he could directly call the king of the 100 Spirit Kingdom out to talk. If it was any other kingdom, the commander of the kingdom would never dare to speak to the king like this. After all, the difference in status between the two was too great. However, the Carefree Dynasty was the Carefree Dynasty. As a commander, he could contend with the kings of other kingdoms. Li Lingtian was unrivaled and domineering, but his subordinates were also fearless. Hearing Marshal Saint Ming Luo, a 5th heaven martial saint, say such words, the experts of 100 Spirit capital city were instantly furious. He was just a 5th sky martial saint. In front of them, he was a piece of trash. However, he actually dared to shout at the king like this. Wasn't this too arrogant? However, they didn't dare to speak. After all, this fifth firmament martial saint was the commander of the carefree dynasty with millions of troops behind him. What was even more terrifying was that Li Lingtian was his backer. Sima Qing of the 100 Spirit Kingdom, what do you have to say? Sima Qing stood up and looked at the carefree empire's army. The expression on his face changed several times. Even if they wanted to submit, they would not do so easily because the 100 Spirit Kingdom wanted to negotiate with Li Lingtian. The 100 Spirit Kingdom will either submit or be destroyed. Marshal Saint Ming Luo naturally understood Sima Qjng's current situation. He definitely wanted to negotiate with the carefree empire. Even if he didn't negotiate with the Xiaoyao dynasty, there would still be some conspiracy. No matter what, he would not give in. If he did not submit, he would attack and destroy the 100 Spirit Kingdom. When he spoke, his tone didn't soften at all, which made the experts of the 100 Spirit Kingdom furious. Who do you think you are? How dare you be so arrogant? Is the 100 Spirit Kingdom afraid of the carefree empire? Call Li Lingtian out. Let's talk to Li Lingtian. Otherwise, there's nothing to say. All of a sudden, the experts in the 100 Spirit capital city were furious and discussed non-stop. However, they did not notice that Marshal Saint Ming Luo had a faint smile on her face. The smile became wider and wider, and a cruel expression appeared on her face. At the same time, some of the experts in the Xiaoyao dynasty army also revealed cruel smiles. After following Marshal Saint Ming Luo for a long time, he understood Marshal Saint Ming Luo's personality. If he insulted Li Lingtian, Marshal Saint Ming Luo would pay any price to let him know his mistake. Ignorant. Our young master, do you have the qualifications to speak to our young master? Kill, destroy the 100 Spirit Royal City. The smile on Marshal Saint Ming Luo's face reached an extreme. Instantly, the aura of her entire body erupted. He spoke loudly, his voice echoing through the millions of soldiers. As soon as the order was given, the entire army was shaken. Kill them! Kill them! Kill them! The battle cries shook the sky and the morale of the army of millions was boosted. To insult Li Lingtian was to insult them. In their eyes, Li Lingtian was a god who stood high above everyone else. Rumble! 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 On the war god, countless light shadows flew together. Under the light shadows, the space started to tremble. Countless light shadows continuously bombarded the defensive array of the 100 Spirit capital city. The millions of troops also quickly flew towards the 100 Spirit capital city. Array Dao Master. Marshal Saint Ming Luo looked at the defensive array. Although the war god's attack was heaven-defying, it was not easy to break through this defense in a short period of time. However, the array masters of the carefree dynasty were powerful. The army would bring powerful array masters to break through the array when attacking the city. With a wave of his hand, hundreds of array masters appeared in front of the army. At the same time, hundreds of super experts arrived not far from the array masters. They specialized in protecting array masters. Array masters were absolutely precious in the army. The last time Liberty's sacred city was attacked by the Four Kingdoms, all the array Dao masters had made indelible contributions. They had displayed the power of the array Dao that could destroy the world, destroying countless experts and armies. The army understood that in front of an array master, millions of soldiers would not be able to withstand the destruction. At that time, array masters had truly displayed their advantages, allowing the world's experts and armies to see the true terror of array masters. 9 Heavens Destruction Array. Lu Haotian shouted loudly and quickly divided the hundreds of array masters into 9 teams. They worked together to cast the 9 Heavens Destruction Array. The last time he cast the Divine Array Spirit, although his array Dao cultivation had declined and he was almost destroyed, he was saved by Li Lingshan's zither music. After Li Lingtian had resolved everything, he was finally able to save his life. They had also used the Divine Array diagram to stabilize their array Dao cultivation. Moreover, after recovering from that destructive injury, their array Dao cultivation had become even stronger. Li Lingshan's heaven-defying ability shocked all the array masters. Not only was his array Dao heaven-defying, but it could also improve the array master's cultivation. Now, they were not afraid of their array Dao cultivation dropping. As long as Li Lingtian was around, they would not have to worry about their array Dao cultivation dropping. Boom! Boom! Boom, boom, the war god's light projection continued to bombard the defensive formation, causing it to tremble. When Marshal Saint Ming Luo saw that the array master did not stop them from attacking, she understood that this array had no effect of enhancement. The stronger the attack, the greater the damage to the array. If they were to encounter Li Lingshan's array formation, they would be doomed. The stronger the attack, the stronger the rebound, and the array formation's power would increase rapidly. Lu Haotian kept waving his hands and casting spells. At the same time, the other array masters also quickly cast their spells and cast the 9 Heavens Destruction Array. The array was a divine array that Li Lingtian had passed down some time ago. It was specially designed to deal with the city's defensive array. Lu Haotian was skilled in attacking formations. In this battle, Wu Jizi was guarding the Freedom King dynasty while Lu Haotian followed the army to attack the city. Boom! In just a moment, 9 destructive light pillars shot into the sky. The 9 pillars of light kept spinning in the air. Every time they spun, the space around them would tremble. The sound was terrifying, causing the hearts of countless soldiers to tremble. 9 heavens as one, all living things will be destroyed. 9 heavens destruction formation, destroy the world. Lu Haotian looked at the 9 light pillars in the sky and shouted loudly. Immediately, the 9 light pillars quickly fused together. As the 9 pillars of light fused together, the entire space was filled with a destructive aura. The air continued to burn and destroy, and all the armies quickly retreated to avoid being caught in the fish pond. War God, increase your attack speed. After the light pillars fused, they formed a destructive cyclone with a radius of 1,000 meters. This cyclone seemed powerful, but Lu Haotian knew how powerful the 100 Spirit Capital City's defensive array formation was, so he did not dare to be careless. He quickly said to Marshal Saint Ming Luo. He could only use the war god's power to shake the defense array and then use the 9 heavens destruction array to completely destroy it. Attack a little. Marshal Saint Ming Luo did not hesitate at all. Although he was not an array master, he knew how powerful Lu Haotian was. Lu Haotian was a holy array master, one of the 2 array masters that Li Lingtian valued. Both of them were of similar status. Now that they were fighting together, they naturally had to work together perfectly to serve Li Lingtian. Instantly, the 9-headed war gods and nearly 1,000 destructive light shadows attacked a single spot at the same time. This way, the power was concentrated in one spot, and the attack on the array was even more terrifying. Boom! The 9 heavens destruction array floated up and bombarded the 100 Spirit Capital City's defense array. Suddenly, a shocking explosion sounded. The earth trembled and space tore. The terrifying defensive formation dissipated at this moment, and a destructive explosion appeared in the air. Screams sounded as the defensive array formation was destroyed. The terrifying explosion destroyed the experts and army of the 100 Spirit Capital City. This destructive power wasn't just the power of the array, but also the destructive power of the 9 heavens destruction array and the war god. This time, hundreds of thousands of troops and countless experts were destroyed. In the blink of an eye, the 100 Spirit Capital City was almost destroyed. Kill them! Kill them! Kill them! At this moment, the sounds of battle from the Xiaoyao dynasty's army shook the sky. Countless armies quickly charged towards 100 Spirit Capital City. The army of the free and unfettered dynasty was proficient in array attacks. All the armies formed array formations of various sizes. In the sky, countless experts also shot out rapidly, and the 2 armies clashed. The martial saints on the war god also flew out. At this moment, there was no victory or defeat, only destruction. The war god's attack was even faster. Moreover, the war god's power could instantly kill a martial saint. There was no room for them to dodge. The army and experts of the 100 Spirit Kingdom had never expected the Freedom King dynasty to be so powerful. It was completely beyond their imagination. Chapter 801, Rainstorm, Meteor, Tribulation. Both armies had already gone red from killing. This situation had completely exceeded Sima Qing's expectations. They could not understand why Marshal Saint Ming Luo would attack the 100 Spirit Kingdom so aggressively. If they knew that Marshal Saint Ming Luo had only started the war because they insulted Li Lingtian, they would definitely regret it. In the distant void, Li Lingtian stood on a plank with a look of surprise on his face. There was a strong connection between the war gods. As long as the war god attacked, the other war gods would sense it. Originally, there weren't any signs of a battle. However, a destructive attack had just occurred. Furthermore, the 9 war gods had attacked at the same time. For something like this to happen, it meant that a great war was about to begin. The only place that could make the 9-headed war god attack at the same time was the 100 Spirit capital city. What's wrong? Huangfu Yuan asked in confusion when she saw Li Lingxian's expression. The battle in 100 Spirit capital city has already begun. Let's hurry up in case anything happens. Li Lingtian said seriously. The 100 Spirit Kingdom did not put up any resistance along the way. They must have gathered all their forces in the 100 Spirit capital city. Now that millions of Carefree Dynasty's army had arrived in the city, it was only natural that a life-and-death battle would break out. At this time, no matter how powerful the Carefree Dynasty was, it was impossible for them to be a match for the 100 Spirit capital city. Therefore, he had to rush to 100 Spirit capital city as soon as possible to prevent the Freedom Dynasty from being destroyed. This place is 1,000,000 miles away from the 100 Spirit capital city. It will take at least an hour to get there. Shun Mayer looked at Li Lingxian's grave expression and began to worry. However, the distance of 1,000,000 miles would take an hour. An hour was an unbearable loss for such a great battle. I'll use the cross-realm formation and go to 100 Spirit capital city first. Li Lingtian pondered for a moment before he flashed out and arrived at the top of the war god. The top of the war god was filled with countless arrays. Looking at the countless array formations, Li Lingtian cast a series of incantation gestures and a formation was activated. Li Lingtian smiled faintly when the array formation appeared. With a flash, he was suspended in the air. Between heaven and earth, a mysterious aura spread out and a hole appeared in the sky. Li Lingtian looked at the hole in the void with a serious expression. The war god had already built this array and it could be used as soon as it was activated. After a moment, the array stabilized, and the hole in space began to tremble. His body flashed and turned into a beam of light, entering the crack in the sky and disappearing from the war god. When he reached the rank of Martial Saint, his cultivation base would increase greatly, and his control over space would reach an extreme level. Moreover, after completing the 5 elements, his control over the world would become even deeper. Super Holy Array Master, 5 Elements Perfection. All of this helped him gain control over space. The war god flew at high speed. Huangfu Yuan ordered Longda to speed up as Li Lingtian was heading to 100 Spirit capital city alone. They had to follow him. In the 100 Spirit capital city, millions of troops from both sides were fighting fiercely. The bombardment from the war god and the morale of the Carefree Dynasty 1's army could temporarily hold their ground against the 100 Spirit capital city. After all, other than Li Lingtian, the Carefree Empire was no match for the other kingdoms. Now that Li Lingtian was not around, the other armies and powerhouses were no match for 100 Spirit capital city in terms of numbers and strength. Kill them! Kill them! Kill them! Waves of battle cries resounded through the world. The Carefree Empire's army only had about 4 million soldiers, but they had all formed arrays of various sizes. Their power was simply enough to fight against 10 people alone. For a moment, the Carefree Dynasty army was in a deadlock with the 100 Spirit capital city army. They kept pressing forward. The 100-spirit capital city's army and powerhouses were shocked, and they saw the morale and power of the Carefree Dynasty's army. Only Li Lingtian could create such power. Li Lingtian isn't here. Should we destroy the Carefree Dynasty? Seeing that the Army of Liberty's sacred city was not a match for 100-spirit capital city, a 9th heavenly layer martial saint came before Sima Qing and looked at the battle in front of him as he asked seriously. At that moment, although the armies from the Carefree Dynasty and 100-spirit capital city were engaged in a battle, the supreme powerhouses from 100-spirit capital city did not join the battle. They were afraid that Li Lingtian would intervene if these powerhouses joined the battle. Li Lingtian's strength was comparable to that of a martial god. He also had the powerful gorilla demon under him. If Li Lingtian was provoked, the 100-spirit kingdom would be doomed. However, as time passed, Li Lingtian from the Carefree Dynasty was nowhere to be seen. Li Lingtian from the Carefree Empire did not make any movements. He was nowhere to be seen. For a moment, the 100-spirit kingdom's powerhouses thought that Li Lingtian was not there. Sigh, things have already come to this. We can only make a move. Otherwise, the army of the 100-spirit capital city will be destroyed. Sima Qing watched as the army was continuously being killed and felt extremely uncomfortable. If this continued, the 100-spirit kingdom's army would be destroyed. Moreover, Li Lingtian was not present, so he could still destroy the Carefree Dynasty's army. He could only take things one step at a time. After he finished speaking, he waved his hand and thousands of experts immediately charged towards the Carefree Empire's army. Rumble. Rumble. Suddenly, the space started to tremble. The attack of the super martial saint was earth-shattering. In a short time, countless soldiers of the Carefree Dynasty were destroyed. Moreover, countless 9th firmament martial saints in the 100-spirit kingdom had also begun to make their move. A large portion of the army was destroyed. Martial Saint Ming Luo's eyes were bloodshot. In front of a 9th heavenly layer martial saint, the army was nothing but ants. Ming Luo, you guys protect him. I'll get someone to cast an array formation attack. Lu Haotian looked at the situation before him. The 100-spirit kingdom wanted to destroy the Carefree kingdom. If this continued, the Carefree kingdom would be destroyed here. When Li Lingtian arrived, the Carefree Dynasty would still be destroyed and it would be impossible to save it. Alright, thank you, Brother Lu. Marshal Saint Ming Luo nodded. This was a life and death moment. If they did not think of a solution, the Xiaoyao Dynasty's army would be finished. Although it was risky for an array master to take action, it had the power of endless destruction. After saying that, he gathered countless super experts to protect Lu Haotian and the others. Rainstorm Meteor Tribulation. In an instant, a total of 200 array masters gathered together and cooperated with Lu Haotian to execute the Rainstorm Meteor Tribulation. Suddenly, the space around them began to tremble. A mysterious and domineering aura spread out in the air, and the army that was enveloped by the aura continued to die. Seeing this situation, the armies of both sides began to dodge, not daring to touch this aura. However, the destructive array formation quickly appeared in the sky. More than 200 array masters executed mysterious hand seals, triggering the destructive power between heaven and earth. Endless meteors appeared in the sky. Meteors rained down on 100-spirit capital city like a storm. Each meteor carried the power to destroy the world, like meteors from outer space. Rumble. Rumble. Swoosh, swoosh. Walala. Suddenly, a torrential rain of meteors appeared in the sky. Countless martial emperors and martial saints began to die quickly in front of the meteor shower. The 100-spirit capital city was like hell on earth. Cold star from the heavens, descend. Lu Haotian's face revealed a crazed expression, and a berserk aura appeared from his entire body. He spat out a mouthful of menstrual blood, and the blood essence turned into a blood veil and disappeared into the air. At this moment, all the array masters also took out their blood essence, and the blood essence also turned into a blood veil and disappeared into the world. Immediately, a blood curtain appeared between heaven and earth again. The entire space was like a sea of blood. The horror of array masters was once again displayed here. Above the 9 heavens, meteorites fell. The meteorites carried destructive power and burned the space. The experts of 100 Spirit Capital City trembled in front of this array. At this moment, the 9th heavenly layer of the Martial Saint realm felt insignificant and regretful. They could not afford to provoke the carefree dynasty. Boom! Boom! In Lord 100 Spirit City, a shocking meteor storm descended and cold stars bombarded the entire city. The entire city had become a living hell. Even a 9th firmament Martial Saint would constantly die in front of this array. The heavens can still live if they commit sins, but people can't live if they commit sins. The only thing you should regret is that you shouldn't have insulted the young master. Those who insult the young master will have to pay a heavy price. Even if you kill all the experts and armies of the carefree empire, you will never be able to kill the young master. At that time, you will still suffer the revenge of destruction. Those who obey will prosper. Those who rebel will die. Sweep the Black Continent. Unify the world. Martial Saint Ming Luo looked at the destructive attack of the array. Her eyes turned red and her body was filled with a crazy aura. He spoke loudly to the army and experts of the 100 Spirit Capital City. His voice spread throughout the entire 100 Spirit Capital City. As the commander-in-chief of the 3 armies, he would not have acted rashly. However, he could not tolerate the fact that the powerhouses from 100 Spirit Capital City had belittled Li Lingtian. In this world, there was no one who could insult Li Lingtian. Even if he was humiliated, he could not allow Li Lingtian to be humiliated. Now, as they watched the 100 Spirit Kingdom's army and experts fall one after another, they were extremely excited. It was as if they had seen the retribution of these experts. The Xiaoyao Empire's army also followed suit. Instantly, their momentum shook the sky. The battle had entered a stalemate. Although the array formation continued to destroy the super experts of 100 Spirit Capital City, it did not affect the army outside at all. The battle continued. Boom! With the last earth-shattering explosion, the cold star in the sky had disappeared. The entire 100 Spirit Capital City had become hell on earth. Countless people and powerhouses were destroyed. Even the 9th heavenly layer of the Martial Saint realm would become ants under this cold star. The cold star stopped, and Lu Haotian and the others sat on the ground. Their faces were extremely pale, and blood flowed from the corners of their mouths. They no longer had any true essence on their bodies, and their minds were extremely weak. Their array formation cultivation fell again. I recommend the new book, Ancient Sage Myriad Ancient King. I welcome everyone to read and save it. I also want to vote for it. The new book needs everyone's support. Only with everyone's support can the new book go further. Chapter 802, A Tragic Battle, 1. The fierce battle continued, but the experts of 100 Spirit Capital City stopped at this moment. At this moment, the eyes of the experts from 100 Spirit Capital City were bloodshot. They looked coldly at the experts from the Carefree Empire. Finally, their eyes shifted to Martial Saint Ming Luo on the War God. It was Martial Saint Ming Luo who had ordered the destruction of the 100 Spirit Capital City. Now, the entire 100 Spirit Capital City had been destroyed. Even if they killed the Carefree dynasty, they would not be able to restore the prosperity of 100 Spirit Capital City. Very good, very good. Since you destroyed my 100 Spirit Royal City, you have to pay the price for your destruction. Sima Kling's expression was cold and his heart was bleeding. The 100 Spirit Kingdom was his blood and sweat. Now that the 100 Spirit Capital City was basically destroyed, it would be difficult to vent the hatred in his heart if he did not destroy the Carefree Empire. Now, they could no longer hold back against the terrifying existence of Li Lingtian. If you want to destroy my Xiaoyao Empire, then come at me. Martial Saint Ming Luo smiled and shouted. The enemy had already been destroyed, but the army of the Xiaoyao dynasty was still no match for the 100 Spirit Kingdom. Now that the battle had reached this stage, there was no way out. Kill, kill. At this moment, Sima Qing had already gone completely mad. He no longer had any scruples. With a wave of his hand, he gave the order to destroy the Carefree Empire. Immediately, the 100 Spirit Kingdom's super-experts bombarded the Carefree Dynasty's army from all directions. Without the array formation, there was no need to fear the Carefree Dynasty's army at all. For a time, the army and experts of the Xiaoyao dynasty continued to fall. It was a complete massacre. Lord 100 Spirit Kingdom's powerful warriors slaughtered the Carefree Dynasty's army and experts. In this situation, the army of the Xiaoyao dynasty was forced to retreat. Even if the army of the Xiaoyao dynasty used formations of different sizes, they would only be able to disappear in front of a super martial saint. At this moment, blood light soared into the sky, and the entire world trembled. The heavens were furious, as if they wanted to punish this destructive massacre. Countless thunderbolts and lightning bolts fell from the sky. A heavy downpour fell, washing away the bloody scene. However, the Carefree Dynasty in 100 Spirit Kingdom had already gone crazy from killing. They had completely forgotten about humanity and only knew how to kill and destroy. Boom! At this moment, an explosion sounded in the distant void. However, this explosion did not attract the attention of the experts present at all. This was because all the experts had already killed until their eyes turned red. They did not care about anything else at all. In their eyes, there was only slaughter and destruction. However, countless soldiers saw a red dot appear in the sky. A red dot appeared in the distant void. After the red dot appeared, it rapidly expanded and formed a scarlet grid. The net instantly grew to 100 miles in size. A crack appeared in the center of the net, and a strange hole was torn in the air. When the opening appeared, a white-robed figure appeared. The white-robed figure quickly descended. When he arrived in the air, countless experts and the army noticed him and recognized that the white-robed figure was a white-robed youth. Moreover, this white-robed young man was someone they were familiar with. Someone shouted. Although this voice was not loud, it spread to the other experts and the army. Hearing this voice, all the experts and the army seemed to have been struck by lightning. They were all shocked and looked up at the sky. Young master. It was this voice that caused countless experts to look up at the sky with shock in their eyes. The young man in white in the sky was Li Lingtian, the one who had crossed over. Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian. It's Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian is here. Young master, it's young master. Young master D is here. All of a sudden, all the experts and the army stopped. The experts and the army of the free and unfettered empire were excited and happy, and their eyes were filled with respect and worship. However, the experts and the army of the 100 Spirit Kingdom were shocked and afraid. Their eyes were filled with despair. They did not expect Li Lingtian to appear at this time. With his appearance, the outcome of 100 Spirit Kingdom was beyond imagination. The sounds of countless demonic beasts could be heard in the sky. The entire space gradually quieted down. The strange atmosphere made the army and powerhouses feel extremely uncomfortable. Their eyes were fixed on Li Lingtian in the air, not knowing what he was thinking. Li Lingtian had a faint smile on his face. The smile did not change as he looked around the battlefield. He understood what was going on. Looking at the appearance of the Xiaoyao Empire army, he was furious. Very good, very good. Li Lingtian's lips curled into a smile as he spoke indifferently. He looked at all the powerhouses in the 100 Spirit capital city before he strode forward in the air. His target was the 100 Spirit capital city. The aura on his body skyrocketed, and the space immediately trembled in front of this aura. His cultivation was at the first sky of the Martial Saint Realm, but his aura had reached the 9th sky of the Martial Saint Realm. It had even surpassed the 9th sky of the Martial Saint Realm. Those who obey will prosper, and those who rebel will die. Since we want to resist, we have to do what we can. Since that's the case, I'll let you witness my true power. The divine marshal chooses the heavenly sword, and the sword will destroy the world. This is the first time I've used it to perform the myriad returning swords. As long as you can withstand my attack, you can live. If you can't remove it, then it's up to you. Li Lingtian maintained the smile on his face. Regardless of the reason, he deserved to die since he had the intention to destroy the Xiaoyao dynasty. He said calmly as he walked slowly. Despite his calm expression, the 100 Spirit Kingdoms' powerhouses and army began to tremble. Although Li Lingtian had yet to make a move, his oppressive aura was making them feel uncomfortable. In front of Li Lingtian, he felt as if he was looking at the Grim Reaper. The pressure he gave them was even more terrifying than that of the martial god. After all, Li Lingtian had killed 2 martial god powerhouses. In the divine martial continent, no one had ever heard of a martial god being killed in a solo battle. However, Li Lingtian, a martial saint powerhouse, had managed to kill 2 martial god powerhouses one after another. Such a terrifying move left everyone in awe and fear. All the soldiers and experts of the 100 Spirit Kingdom retreated quickly. Faced with a young man, the millions of soldiers and tens of thousands of powerhouses did not dare to put up any resistance. Instead, they retreated step by step. Similarly, no one dared to flee for fear of being killed by Li Lingtian. This scene was extremely strange. The army and experts of the Xiaoyao dynasty were extremely excited. This was because they had witnessed Li Lingtian suppressing all the powerhouses and the army before he had even made a move. Such an imposing manner and prestige was enough to make all the powerhouses submit. Li Lingtian walked as he spoke, his eyes fixed on all the powerhouses. His tone was as if he was judging all the experts. As soon as he finished speaking, a stream of light appeared between his eyebrows. The divine martial profound heaven sword appeared in front of him. The divine martial heaven choosing sword spun continuously, and a destructive aura spread out. This aura continued to erode the air. However, when the divine sword appeared, 3 exquisite small swords also appeared in front of him. Countless experts of the Carefree dynasty had seen the 3 exquisite swords before. They were the 3 heavenly swords. After Li Lingtian had refined the 3 heavenly swords, they could be fused together. The power of the fusion of the 3 heavenly swords was unimaginable. Boom! In the air, destructive pressure exploded. The 3 heavenly swords were all supreme saint weapons, and the divine martial heaven selection sword was a supreme ancient divine weapon. The pressure wreaked havoc in the air, stirring the air and distorting it. At the same time, the destructive pressure directly suppressed countless armies, making them unable to move at all. Even the martial emperors and martial saints felt the space around them turn sluggish due to the pressure. Their faces were filled with fear and despair. Do it. If we don't do it now, we're finished. Let's work together. No matter how powerful he is, he's only a first sky martial saint. We can definitely get rid of him if we work together. Yeah, let's do it. Do you all want to be destroyed? If you want to be killed, you don't have to do anything. 1, 2, 3, attack together. Looking at Li Lingtian's imposing manner and dominance, all the powerhouses understood that they would not be able to go against him easily this time. Li Lingtian was already filled with killing intent and he would not let anyone off. Now that things had come to this point, they would not let themselves be killed. Only by joining forces would they have a chance of defeating Li Lingtian. Instantly, all the experts unleashed their most powerful attacks. The space trembled and tore apart in front of the violent destructive aura of countless experts. The smile on Li Lingtian's face widened when he saw all the powerhouses working together. At that moment, without any hesitation, he extended his hand and a ball of light appeared in his palm. Immediately, Li Lingtian's body emitted the metal will of the way. After the metal will of the Great Path appeared, the space was filled with metal, elemental spiritual energy and force. At the same time, Li Lingtian's aura rapidly changed as a destructive sword will soared into the sky. He was like a sharp sword that stood proudly between heaven and earth. The 3 heavenly swords and the divine martial black heavenly sword in front of him were also spinning continuously. Every time they spun, the sword essence would increase by a large margin. Myriad swords return. Li Lingtian spoke calmly as if he was talking to himself. With a single clap of his hand, the ball of light transformed into tens of thousands of sharp swords that hovered around Li Lingtian. With him as the center, sharp swords spun within a radius of 1,000 meters. At the same time, the divine black heavenly sword and the 3 heavenly swords entered these sharp swords. This place formed a world of swords. Li Lingtian had become the soul of this sword world. His gaze was extremely sharp and his icy gaze was like a sharp sword that could pierce through the void. Tens of thousands of sharp swords spun rapidly. They seemed to be spinning without any order, but there were traces of connection between them. Sword chi and sword light appeared, and at the same time, there were countless sword threads between these sword chi and sword light. With Li Lingtian at the center, the entire sky had formed a mystical sword world. Chapter 803, Victory. Looking at the mystical sword world, all the experts began to tremble. This was the true supreme sword Tao, the return of 10,000 swords. One person could control 10,000 swords and unleash destructive power. The entire process from the moment all the powerhouses joined forces to the moment Li Lingtian unleashed the myriad returning swords seemed to have taken a long time, but it only took a few seconds. At this moment, tens of thousands of experts joined forces to unleash countless destructive attacks. The entire space began to tear apart in front of countless attacks, like a broken mirror. A devastating attack came crashing down on Li Lingtian. However, Li Lingtian did not show the slightest fear as he watched the oncoming attacks. Instead, he waved his hand with a faint smile of excitement. With a wave of his hand, tens of thousands of sharp swords instantly shot forward with a halo. As the 10,000 swords flew together, they carried a destructive sword light. There was a slight connection between the sword lights. At this moment, the myriad returning swords was no longer a single sharp sword, but a complete array. Moreover, the divine martial profound heaven sword and the 3 heavenly swords became the core of the sword formation. The power of the ancient divine weapon and the heavenly sword was unleashed to the extreme at this moment, and the sky immediately trembled. The sharp sword tore through the void and fiercely bombarded the countless attacks. Boom! 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 Rumble. Li Lingtian advanced step by step behind the sword formation. Wherever the sword formation passed, the attacks it encountered were instantly reduced to nothingness. It was completely unable to shake the sword formation. Furthermore, the sword formation devoured countless attacks. Gradually, the tens of thousands of attacks in the air disappeared, completely devoured by the sword formation. Ah! Following the first scream, the first martial saint was swallowed by the sword formation. Following that, Li Lingtian activated the sword formation and swiftly shuttled through the countless powerhouses. The sword formation left a bloody stench in its wake as countless powerhouses vanished into thin air. The sword formation formed a circle of light. It was no longer a single sharp sword. All the sharp swords had turned into sword silks. The domineering power of the sword silks could ignore the attacks of any expert, as well as the defenses and treasures of any expert. The army and experts of the Xiaoyao dynasty were stunned when they saw the scene in the sky. He did not expect this myriad returning swords to be so terrifying. Even a martial saint powerhouse could not resist at all. In the air, the number of experts decreased, and the sword formation became more and more terrifying. At this moment, the experts of the 100 Spirit Kingdom who had not died were scared out of their wits. Boom! Boom! Explosions continued to sound between heaven and earth as the sword formation devoured countless experts. The more experts it devoured, the more terrifying the sword formation became. Die! Li Lingtian's face turned pale as his vital essence was depleted. Now, more than half of these experts had already fallen. Their goal had already been achieved. With a light shout, the remaining true essence in his body exploded out. 10,000 swords exploded in the air, but the tens of thousands of sharp swords pierced through the air. Countless experts quickly fell, and the army fell like rain. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As the last sound of the air being torn apart faded away, Li Lingtian had already retrieved the tens of thousands of swords. Thousands of sharp swords transformed into a ball of light that landed in Li Lingshan's hand. With a single slap, the ball of light vanished. The divine black heavenly sword and the 3 heavenly swords hovered in front of Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian stopped in his tracks and looked at the remaining powerhouses in the sky. The remaining powerhouses looked horrified and desperate. At that moment, Li Lingtian was hovering in the air as he stared at the countless powerhouses as if he was judging them. Hush! The Xiaoyao Empire army all let out a cold breath. Although he knew that Li Lingtian was powerful, he did not expect Li Lingshan's strength to reach such a level that he regarded a martial saint as nothing. The so-called powerhouses were nothing but ants in front of Li Lingtian. However, the experts of the Carefree Empire were all excited and had looks of worship on their faces. Young Master, Young Master. Young Master D, Young Master D. All the soldiers and experts of the Xiaoyao dynasty cheered, and their voices shook the sky. The remaining experts of the 100 Spirit Kingdom no longer had the will to fight. They did not even have the will to resist. Previously, they had heard that Li Lingtian was extremely powerful. However, they had never expected a martial saint powerhouse to possess such skills and abilities. It was completely beyond their imagination. This was beyond the scope of a martial saint powerhouse in the divine martial continent. There was no warrior sage powerhouse that was this powerful. The way they looked at Li Lingtian was as if they were looking at a monster or the Grim Reaper. Those who obey will prosper, and those who rebel will die. I'll give you 3 seconds. Li Lingshan's cold gaze swept across the remaining 100 Spirit Kingdoms powerhouses and army before he spoke indifferently. Now, he had achieved his goal. If the other party did not submit, he could kill all the experts. One less expert from the 100 Spirit Kingdom was insignificant. At worst, he could go to the Southwind Kingdom and destroy it, subduing its experts. Surrender. Submit. Walala. Walala. As soon as Li Lingshan's voice fell, all the troops and powerhouses quickly surrendered. All the powerhouses descended and surrendered before Freedom King Dynasty. Instantly, the entire army and experts of the 100 Spirit Capital City disappeared into the air and knelt on the ground. Li Lingshan's lips curled into a faint smile as he looked at the powerhouses and the army below. 100 Spirit Capital City's army of 10 million soldiers had already suffered heavy losses. With Li Lingshan's 1,000 returning swords bombardment, only half of the powerhouses remained. Li Lingshan's terror had cast a shadow in the hearts of countless powerhouses. They had long given up hope and did not even have the chance to escape. Hearing Li Lingshan's words, it was as if he had been pardoned halfway. He was afraid that he would be killed if he was a little slower in submitting. Those who obey will prosper, and those who rebel will die. Sweep the Black Continent and unify the world. The army and experts of the Carefree Dynasty cheered. The entire 100 Spirit Capital City was filled with the cheers of the Carefree Dynasty army. The earth-shattering sound soared into the sky, and the 9 heavens trembled. Seeing that 100 Spirit Capital City had surrendered, Li Lingshan's figure flashed and he quickly left the city. He looked into the distance and waited for Tang Qingyue and the others to arrive. Following that, the army and experts of the Carefree Dynasty began to reorganize the army and experts of the 100 Spirit Capital City. After an hour, a huge silver war god appeared in the sky. Li Lingshan's lips curled into a faint smile when he saw the arrival of the god of war. After arriving here, he used the myriad swords returned to the origin, which destroyed the morale of the entire 100 Spirit Kingdom and pacified the 100 Spirit Kingdom. This was the power of an expert. A true expert could overturn the heavens and earth, and could control the battle of millions of troops. The war god arrived at 100 Spirit Capital City in a split second. Li Lingshan's figure flashed back to the war god. Tang Qingyue and the others came forward and examined Li Lingshan's body to see if he was injured. Even though they knew that Li Lingtian would not necessarily die even if he encountered a martial god powerhouse, they were still extremely concerned. This was kinship, the kind of concern that only family members could have. Big brother Ling Tian is the most powerful. He managed to settle the battle in such a short time. Tang Zimeng was relieved to see that Li Lingtian was not injured. She was happy as long as Li Lingtian was not injured. As she spoke, she snuggled up to Li Lingtian in a coquettish manner. Of course. This is a piece of cake for Imperial Uncle. Xianyuan Qingqing was also delighted. She was already 7 years old and had learned a lot from Li Lingtian and the others. She was also very knowledgeable. Tang Qingyue and Huangfu Yuyan's knowledge, as well as some of the things they had seen and heard in the divine martial continent, had told Xianyuan Qingqing that she was now a talented girl. Even an ordinary martial saint powerhouse might not know as much as her. In Li Lingshan's opinion, girls had to rely on themselves and learn how to protect themselves at all times. This was because girls were at a disadvantage in the divine martial continent and were not as casual as men. He did not want the obedient girl he had raised for 10 or 20 years to be deceived by others. This place is too murderous. Let's leave this place first. Li Lingtian smiled. He had just consumed too much of his energy and was not injured at all. The battle in 100 Spirit Capital City had just ended and the stench of blood was too heavy. The space was also shaken and the spirit chi was extremely chaotic. It was not suitable for him to rest. After saying that, he gave an order to have the war god fly towards the 100 Spirit Capital City. This time, it was heading towards the Southwind Kingdom. The 100 Spirit Kingdom had been conquered, and they only needed to reorganize for a period of time. As for whether the Southwind Kingdom had made any preparations or joined forces to resist the Carefree Empire, it was not something they could control. In Li Lingshan's opinion, no matter how powerful the Southwind Kingdom was, it was only the final blow. It was insignificant. As long as there was no martial god in the kingdom, they would not be a match for the Carefree dynasty. The war god flew for 100,000 kilometers before stopping on a lake. With such a powerful war god, it was impossible to hide even if one wanted to. The only way was to use the war god's powerful heaven-defying array. However, this would affect the spiritual energy. Inside the war god, Li Lingtian was cultivating in peace while Tang Zhenji and the rest were cultivating seriously. As for the news from outside, Tang Qingyue enthers cordial with it if they were not cultivating. Currently, the free and unfettered dynasty was attacking the 4 great kingdoms. Generally speaking, there was nothing major. However, what they did not expect was that news came from below. The Nanfeng Kingdom, the Yuhan Kingdom, and the Kingdom of Heaven's Roars had joined forces to resist the free and unfettered empire's attack. Moreover, a mysterious expert had appeared in the 3 great kingdoms. All the factions in the 3 great kingdoms were controlled by the mysterious expert. The secret agent who received the news passed it on to Longda before he died. It was because of this that Li Lingtian was surprised. Li Lingshan's expression changed drastically when he saw the fallen secret agent's condition. His expression gradually turned grave. I'll add more updates tomorrow on Monday and hit the top 10 in the sales rankings. Please give me monthly votes and donations. Chapter 804, Yin Poison and Cold Poison. Cold poison, Yin poison. Li Lingshan's expression turned grave as he looked at the fallen spy. It was the first time he had seen such a cold poison and Yin poison that could destroy a 3rd sky martial saint. Moreover, this cold poison and Yin poison were slow-acting. As long as one was injured by this cold poison, even the most powerful expert would be corroded by this cold poison. They would be corroded by the cold poison and Yin poison for the rest of their lives, and it would be difficult for them to advance their cultivation. Moreover, those with slightly lower cultivation would be instantly destroyed or slowly consume their lifespan and die. Yin poison and cold poison? I don't think it has ever appeared in the Black Continent or the Azure Continent. Besides, Yin poison and cold poison aren't something that can be cultivated by the same martial artist. How could it appear in one person? Huangfu Yuyan and the rest looked at Li Lingtian before their eyes fell on the warrior sage powerhouse's corpse on the ground. There were no injuries on the body of this martial saint expert, but his entire body had turned black. There was a hint of green and white in the black, and waves of cold air continuously emitted. Her appearance was terrifying. Li Lingtian was naturally no match for her in terms of knowledge. However, she was not familiar with Yin poison and frost poison at the moment. She had never even heard of them. Yin poison is the aura of a meditation cultivator's cultivation technique. Cold poison is the true qi cultivated by a cultivator who cultivates cold qi. It's almost as difficult as ascending to the heavens to fuse the two auras. However, if you really fuse them, you'll be incomparably powerful. I didn't expect such an expert to appear in the three great kingdoms. It seems that the three great kingdoms aren't as simple as they seem. Li Lingtian smiled bitterly. He had thought that the four kingdoms would not have to do much, but he did not expect such a thing to happen. Immediately, Li Lingtian unleashed the Nine Suns' sacred flame. The destructive Nine Suns' sacred flame quickly turned the martial saint powerhouse's corpse into ashes. If he didn't deal with it quickly, it would spread. At that time, who knew how many experts would be attacked by the Yin poison and the cold poison? After settling everything, he brought Tang Genji and the others back to the living room. They had no choice but to deal with this matter. They were not in the mood to cultivate now. Moreover, Li Lingtian was excited to meet such a powerhouse. After all, it was rare to meet a worthy opponent. The two martial gods he had killed earlier were at the first heaven, so it was no challenge for Li Lingtian. Now that the war for the unification of the four kingdoms had just begun, a mysterious expert had already appeared. Naturally, they were filled with anticipation. However, no matter what the situation was, he had to take the initiative. He didn't want to wait until he died. That would be too big of a deal. The 100 Spirit Kingdom has just been conquered. Do you have any good ideas? Should we attack the Southwind Kingdom immediately or wait for a while? Li Lingtian asked after he returned to the living room. His eyes swept across Huangfu Yuan and the rest of the ladies before he rested his chin on his hand and waited for their opinion. No matter how powerful one person was, he was not as good as a large group of people. After all, everyone's opinions were different. If there were good opinions, it would be easy to deal with them. Huangfu Yuan and the others were extremely intelligent and knowledgeable. This information was obtained from the mouth of a secret agent. Moreover, it seems that the secret agents in the three kingdoms have all been wiped out. We can be sure that the three great kingdoms will not submit. At least, they will not submit until they have killed their main characters. Therefore, we must use our strongest strength to destroy the armies of the three kingdoms and eliminate the mastermind behind the scenes. Tang Genji was silent for a moment before she spoke first. As she spoke, she looked at Li Lingtian with her beautiful eyes. When she saw the expression on his face, she was shocked to see that he was still smiling and staring at her. Tang Genji glared at Li Lingtian when she saw his reaction. Immediately, the other girls giggled when they saw this. Tang Qingyu's face turned red. She lowered her head and stopped talking. What have you been thinking about all day? Sister Qingyue is right in front of you every day. Haven't you seen enough? Huangfu Yuan said with a smile. It would have been better if she hadn't said anything, but now that she had said it, Tang Qingyue felt even more embarrassed. Then, he spoke his thoughts with a serious expression on his face and said softly, Sister Blue Moon is right. The three kingdoms will not submit. If we want to wipe them out, we will have to rely on our own strength. Furthermore, this is a test for the Carefree Empire's army, as well as for us. We don't know the background of such an expert. We don't know how powerful he is. Such an expert is the most terrifying. As Huangfu Yuan spoke, she analyzed the experts behind the three great kingdoms. They definitely had something to do with Yin poison and cold poison. Those powerhouses were well aware that Li Lingtian was going to attack the three kingdoms, yet they still dared to stop him. They must have a certain degree of confidence. Moreover, it seemed that these experts were not from the Black Continent. There were no such experts in the Black Continent. At least, the few famous martial god experts in the Black Continent were not insidious or cold. Husband, you have to be careful this time. You can barely fight a battle at the first level of the war god realm. Even if there are 2 or 3 first-level martial god experts, you can still leave easily. However, if you encounter even more martial god experts or terrifying second-level martial god experts, what confidence do you have? Therefore, the other party dared to set up an ambush at that place because they understand your strength. They must be confident. As the saying goes, one doesn't dare to go to Liangshan without 3/10 of their strength. A serious expression appeared on Shun Meyer's charming face. As his cultivation increased, he would encounter more and more things, and the experts he encountered would be more terrifying. In the past, they had never thought that they would come into contact with powerhouses like Wu Zun and Martial Emperor, let alone martial saints and martial gods. However, after a few years, not only did they meet each other, but they had also become martial emperors themselves. Li Lingtian was also a martial saint powerhouse. Moreover, these martial emperors and martial saints were nothing but ants in front of them. Meteor is right. We have to be careful this time. See if there's anything wrong with my idea. The Carefree Empire and 100 Spirit Capital City armies are going all out to attack the Southwind Kingdom. If we encounter any mysterious experts in the Southwind Kingdom, we can fight them as soon as possible. If the Southwind Kingdom doesn't have any mysterious experts, we can wipe them out. While the Carefree Dynasty and 100 Spirit Capital Cities armies are marching, they'll go into seclusion to comprehend the method to deal with Yin poison and cold poison. They'll try to think of a way to deal with these experts when the war arrives. Seeing that the girls shared the same thoughts, Li Lingtian did not hesitate any longer. He told them his plan so that Huangfu Yuan and the others could take note of it. If his plan worked, they could follow suit. In any case, the matter had already appeared and had to be dealt with. Even if they did not attack the 3 kingdoms, those experts would still come looking for him. There was no way to avoid the disaster. After saying that, he waited for the girls to come up with ideas. Yes, what you said is feasible. That's right. We'll meet sooner or later anyway. The sooner we settle it, the better. Big brother Ling Tian wants to resolve the Yin poison and frost poison. Qing Ling cultivates the 9 Yin Heaven Scroll, and big sister Qing Yu also has the Yin Constitution. In that case, it'll be helpful for you to cultivate an ice attribute cultivation method. That's right. Although the frosty qi doesn't pose much of a threat to you, it'll be much easier if you have Qingyue and Qingling to study it together. The girls did not have any objections to Li Lingshan's words. However, they were all looking at Qingyu and Qingling. Both of them were of the ice element. If they cultivated together with Li Lingtian, they should be able to help him during the battle. Alright, it's decided then. Qingling and Qingyue will cultivate with me. I've ordered the armies of the Carefree Dynasty and the 100 Spirit Kingdom to march into the Southwind Kingdom with all their might. When the time comes, we'll have a decisive battle in the Southwind Kingdom. Let's go cultivate first. Yuyan, you guys take care of these things. Oh right, pass this to Lu Haotian and the others. After they recover, they can comprehend these 2 sets of array formations. This time, don't exhaust the Carefree Dynasty and 100 Spirit Capital Cities armies too much. We can use the array formations to destroy the Southwind Kingdom. Li Lingtian finally made up his mind and began giving instructions. He then took out a brocade box and handed it to Huangfu Yuan. With them handling these matters, he was more at ease. Following that, Li Lingtian led Qingyu and Qingling out of the living room and headed for the training room. The training room on the war god was specially built and extremely sturdy. Moreover, there were countless arrays inside. The arrays of the 5 elements were all inside. He would activate the array formation of the attribute he cultivated. This way, it could help with his cultivation. After the 3 of them entered the practice room, Li Lingtian asked Tang Qingyue and Qingling to cultivate on their own. He had to think about it carefully. This time, it was not just the cold poison. The cold poison might not be a cultivation technique like the ice true qi. Moreover, there was also the Yin poison. The Yin poison was a meditation cultivation technique. If two heaven-defying and terrifying cultivation techniques appeared in one person's body, it would not be so easy to resolve. Then, he began to ponder and thought about everything. In his knowledge and memories, there was no such cold cultivation technique at all, because the cultivation technique was either cold or Yin qi. There were really not many cultivation techniques like his ice and fire qi, but such a thing could not be ruled out. Since he had such a cultivation technique, others naturally had such a cultivation technique as well. If a cold cultivation technique really appeared, it was definitely not a good thing. At least, it was not a good thing for them. Li Lingtian entered the clear sky realm and tried to think of all the cultivation techniques, but he could not come up with any way to deal with the Yin cold technique. However, he had also made up his mind not to mix the Yin poison and the cold poison together. Instead, he would deal with them separately. If the matter was complicated, it would only lead him into a dead end. Today's 8 chapters, Seeking Submissions, Reward, Month Pass, and Refers Pass. Chapter 805, Raincloud City, 1. Days passed, and the Freedom Empire unified the 100 Spirit Kingdom. The entire Mystic Moon Empire was shaken. It had been less than 2 years since the establishment of the Carefree Dynasty, and in just 2 years, they had unified the Moonsong Kingdom and the 100 Spirit Kingdom. Moreover, the Carefree Dynasty's slogan was to sweep through the Mystic Continent and unify the world. The unification of the 100 Spirit Kingdom had greatly increased the strength of the Carefree Kingdom. Moreover, Li Lingshan's reputation had already spread throughout the Mystic Moon Empire. His terrifying cultivation base and tyrannical methods had become the kingdom's powerhouse's nightmare. What shocked all the kingdoms was that after the free and unfettered dynasty unified the 100 Spirit Kingdom, they didn't delay at all. After reorganizing their army, they charged towards the Southern Wind Kingdom. This momentum was like a whirlwind that swept away clouds and destroyed everything in its path. In half a month, the Southwind Kingdom was unified. A month later, the Epsilon Kingdom was unified. With the merger of the 3 kingdoms and the original strength of the Carefree Empire, the army of the Carefree Empire had now reached 30 million, and there were also tens of thousands of super experts. The current Carefree Empire was no longer as weak as before. This was because countless 9 heavens had submitted to the Freedom King dynasty, causing the strength of the Freedom King dynasty to soar. However, a strange situation appeared. The countless 9th heavenly layer martial saints of the Nanfeng Kingdom and the Yuan Kingdom had disappeared. These 9th firmament martial saints were basically all gathered in the Kingdom of Heaven's roars. Seeing this, everyone understood that the 3 kingdoms were not united. Some powerhouses did not want to fight Li Lingtian, but some hoped to join forces to defeat him. 2 factions were formed at once. The powerhouses who submitted to Li Lingtian followed Li Lingtian and the Carefree Dynasty. The powerhouses who came to the Kingdom of Heaven's roars were here to compete with Li Lingtian. Immediately, half of the experts from the 4 kingdoms gathered in the Kingdom of Heaven's roars, while the other half gathered in the Carefree Dynasty army. From this situation, all the other kingdoms and experts in the Mystic Moon Empire understood one thing. The Freedom Empire and the Kingdom of Heaven's roars were in a war that could destroy the heavens and earth. In this war, both sides would die. After this war, the Xiaoyao dynasty would either become stronger or collapse. However, after this war, the Mystic Moon Empire was destined to be in a state of chaos, and it might even spread to the entire Mystic Continent. Boom! Boom! The 30 million super army was like a sharp arrow, piercing through the entire Kingdom of Heaven's roars and pressing down on the capital city. The entire world was shaking. Countless experts from the Mystic Moon Empire were watching this battle. Even the experts from the Sky Blue Empire and the Heavenly Sun Empire, as well as secret agents, and experts from other large kingdoms, were all looking at the Kingdom of Heaven's roars. The entire Xian continent, with the Kingdom of Heaven's roars as the center, all eyes focused on him. This war was premeditated. The experts of the three kingdoms had joined forces to deal with the Carefree dynasty. Their final target was the number 1 alchemy saint of the divine martial continent. Just this name alone was enough to divert the attention of the experts and forces of the entire Black Continent and attract the attention of countless experts. On the land of the Kingdom of Heaven's Roars, countless kingdoms were destroyed, and the entire Kingdom of Heaven's Roars was in flames of war. Wherever the Xiaoyao dynasty went, they would submit. Li Lingshan's reputation was once again pushed to the peak of Xianzhou. Watercloud Great City was the capital of the Watercloud Nation under the Kingdom of Heaven's Roars. Now that the Watercloud Nation had long surrendered, this place had also become the garrison of the Carefree dynasty's army. Moreover, the Water Transport Grand City was the closest city to the Heaven's Roars capital city. The distance between the two huge cities was only 500,000 miles. For an army of 30 million martial arts grandmasters and above, 500,000 miles was only a day's effort. For the Divine Wind, Divine Dragon, and Divine Martial Army, it would only take 1 or 2 hours. There was another problem with the 30 million troops stationed in Raincloud City. Marshal Saint Ming Luo's family was in Raincloud City, and the Ming family belonged to Raincloud Nation. As the commander-in-chief of the three armies, he was naturally under great pressure when facing such a powerful army. If he was not careful, his entire army would be wiped out. Moreover, this battle had become the focus of the entire Black Continent. He did not dare to be negligent. The army could not enter the City of Heaven's Roars rashly. They could only station themselves in the city and await Li Lingshan's orders. In the past, Marshal Saint Ming Luo was just an unremarkable figure in the clan and was even ostracized. However, this time, Marshal Saint Ming Luo was the commander of the three armies of the Xiaoyao dynasty. She was a super powerhouse who commanded an army of 30 million. She was also the most trusted subordinate of the Divine Martial Continent's number 1 divine alchemist, Li Lingtian. Finally, all the ostracization in the past could be held high at this time. In front of Marshal Saint Ming Luo, the experts of countless clans became insignificant. Although there were countless experts in the clan, and there were even the Grand Elders at the 9th heavenly layer of the Martial Saint realm, the 30 million troops under him could easily wipe out this clan. Moreover, there were more than 200 9th firmament martial saints below him. Such strength was completely heaven-defying. The Ming family had never thought that one day, an unremarkable disciple of their family would actually become the commander of an army of 30 million, the commander of tens of thousands of super experts. Just the name of the Carefree dynasty alone was enough to make a family vanish into thin air. Just the name of Li Lingtian alone was enough to shake the entire mystic continent. However, Marshal Saint Ming Luo did not oppress the Ming family at all. After all, he was a member of the Ming family. The past was all in the past. In this world, the strong were respected. That was how it was. It was his own destiny to be where he was today. He had the opportunity to meet Li Lingtian and become his subordinate. He also had the courage to submit and follow Li Lingtian. If it were any other powerhouse, they would naturally not follow a martial artist who was weaker than them, but he did it. At the same time, he had made the right choice. Li Lingtian, who used to be unremarkable, was now a super powerhouse that shook the entire Xian continent. His strength was comparable to the martial god and the divine martial continent's number 1 divine alchemist. Third uncle, is the person you're talking about really that powerful? Do you think he really has the ability to cure third sister's illness? After the army settled down in the city, the three armies were reorganized and a great battle was about to break out. It was extremely quiet between the two cities, but everyone knew that this was the calm before the storm. Marshal Saint Ming Luo was sitting on the main seat in the palace of the Watercloud Nation. There was only a 15 or 16-year-old girl in the entire hall. She had delicate features and was not a peerless beauty, but she was still a beauty. At this moment, he looked at Marshal Saint Ming Luo, who was sitting on the main seat, and his face revealed a trace of restraint. After all, Marshal Saint Ming Luo was now the commander of the three armies and the subordinate of that legendary figure. However, he couldn't help but ask Marshal Saint Ming Luo curiously. "You little girl, it's been 10 years since we last met, but you've become distant from your third uncle. Come to third uncle. He is a legend, a miracle of the Xian continent, a miracle of the divine martial continent. He can't be described as a genius. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call him a monster. He rose to power at the age of 14 and reached the martial sage realm in just 10 years. His strength is comparable to a martial god realm expert. He is a genius in alchemy. In just 10 years, he has become a level 8 divine alchemist and is known as the #1 divine alchemist in the divine martial continent. Sigh, as for your third sister's matter, only he can try. If even he can't cure her, no one in this world can. However, I didn't tell young master now. After young master's cultivation stabilizes and these things are resolved, I'll ask young master to help your third sister. Martial Saint Ming Luo looked at the young girl in front of her and smiled faintly. She reached out her hand and gestured for the young girl to sit on the chair beside her. When he looked at the young girl, a kind smile appeared on his face. Wow, he's so powerful. He's even more powerful than the #1 heaven of Watercloud Nation, by Yunfei. The young girl looked at Martial Saint Ming Luo's kind smile and became bolder. The restraint on her body also relaxed. In the past, in the Ming family, it was her third uncle and her grandfather who treated her the best. However, her grandfather passed away 3 years ago. From then on, she was almost an orphan in the Ming family. Now, the third uncle who doted on him had returned. He was extremely happy, but seeing that his third uncle controlled countless experts and was the commander of an army of 30 million, he could not help but feel a little restrained. When she heard that the person her third uncle mentioned was so powerful, she was filled with envy and admiration. However, no matter what Martial Saint Ming Luo said, he did not see it with his own eyes. In the Watercloud Nation, the #1 genius, by Yunfei, was the strongest. He had reached the 7th sky of the martial saint realm at the age of 40. By Yunfei? Young master only needs one look and one thought to kill him. Even your third uncle is confident in killing him now. The young master's strength is indescribable. No matter what kind of expert he is, they will all fall before him. Even I can't see the young master's true strength. It can be said that no one in the divine martial continent can kill him. When Martial Saint Ming Luo heard Bai Yunfei's name, a trace of hatred appeared in his eyes. Although he didn't know who was responsible for his second brother's death, he knew that Bai Yunfei had something to do with it. Bai Yunfei revealed a cruel smile as he spoke. In front of the young master, Bai Yunfei was nothing but an ant. Third uncle, are you still leaving Raincloud Nation this time? The young girl's eyes became misty. Her third uncle had finally returned. If he left again, she would become an orphan again. In her heart, third uncle was her only family now. Yen heir, third uncle is now following the young master to conquer the world. The young master is going to sweep through the entire Xian continent and unify the world. Naturally, I won't stay in the Watercloud Nation. Are you willing to leave with third uncle? If you are willing to leave the Ming family, third uncle can go to young master and tell him that you will go to young master's place and serve him. At least you won't be bullied by others. Martial Saint Ming Luo stood up and walked in front of Ming Yen. She reached out and stroked her hair. Her eyes were filled with kindness, as if she was looking at her own granddaughter. After saying that, he looked at Ming Yen. This matter also depended on Ming Yen. After all, Ming Yen was not young anymore. Chapter 806, The Ming Family's Yen heir. Third uncle, is it true? Ming Yen was stunned when she heard Martial Saint Ming Luo's words. She only reacted after a long time. He had an excited smile on his face. It would be an honor to be able to follow that legendary figure. In the divine martial continent, women did not have any backing. They could only be the sacrificial victims of this world. They would often become the vassals of powerful experts or marry powerful experts as concubines. However, a woman without good looks was sad. Moreover, many girls with good looks did not want to be a man's vassal. Although Ming Yan heir did not have much status in the Ming family, she was a good girl. Furthermore, she was very talented. However, she was not a direct descendant, so she could not be nurtured. Up until now, she was only a Tier 8 warrior spirit disciple. Even though she rarely left the Ming family, Li Lingshan's name had been shining like a comet during this period of time. He had spread far and wide and shocked the world. Naturally, she had heard of him. However, she did not expect her third uncle to be this person's subordinate. If he really had such a powerful figure protecting him now, he could be nurtured in the future and would not be bullied. It will depend on your ability in the future. During this period of time, young master is cultivating. After the war here is settled, he'll find an opportunity to tell young master. Remember, in front of young master, what should be known and what should not be known, what should be said and what should not be said, you must be clear about all these. Also, young master doesn't like betrayal and betrayal. I think your second brother's granddaughter. I don't have any juniors, so I treat you as my granddaughter. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone to look for young master. Whether or not you can stay by the young master's side will depend on your own fortune and opportunities. Marshal Saint Ming Luo smiled faintly when she saw Ming Yan heir's expression. However, her expression was extremely serious when she finished speaking. It was only right for him to feel sorry for his juniors, but he wanted them to understand his young master's habits. He did not want his juniors to go against Li Lingtian or betray his young master. If it really came to that, even if he had to die to atone for his sins, it would not be worth it. I understand. I will definitely follow third uncle's guidance. Yan heir will go back first. Ming Yan heir looked at Marshal Saint Ming Luo's serious expression and knew that her third uncle was serious. She could not betray her young master at all. After saying that, he bowed respectfully and left. He was extremely curious in his heart. What kind of heaven-defying figure was this to actually make his third uncle respect him so much? There were also countless super experts, tens of millions of troops, and billions of citizens below. How much courage and strength did it take to build such a powerful army and country? When he thought of this, he couldn't wait to meet this mysterious person. Marshal Saint Ming Luo watched as Ming Yan heir left the hall. The kindness on her face became even stronger. It was as if she had seen her own granddaughter. A rare smile appeared on her face. I hope you sisters can help the young master, and I also hope that the young master can remove your restrictions. One day, you will be able to see your parents and return to the world that belongs to you. The smile on Marshal Saint Ming Luo's face kept changing. She muttered to herself as if she was in a daze. He looked into the void, thinking about something. Second brother, no matter how you died, Ming Luo will definitely destroy the Bai family. Yan heir has grown up. After this battle, I will bring Bing back. By clan, I'll be the first to destroy you. Marshal Saint Ming Luo's face revealed a solemn expression as if she was missing someone. As he finished speaking, his expression turned cold and a shocking aura erupted from his body. The entire hall was filled with an aura of destruction. Watercloud City was the capital of the Watercloud nation. Now that it had been conquered by the Carefree Empire's army, it had become the encampment of the Carefree Empire's 30 million soldiers. Tens of thousands of experts were also settled in the army, waiting for the arrival of the battle. 5 days had passed, and it had been 5 days since they arrived at Raincloud City. The army had not advanced a single step, but the army of the Kingdom of Heaven's Roars did not have a single army. For this battle, the Kingdom of Heaven's Roars did not defend the city. Instead, they arranged for 20 million troops and countless experts to be stationed 100,000 miles away from the City of Heaven's Roars. This way, the battle would not affect the City of Heaven's Roars. Brother Lu, has your array Dao cultivation recovered? On this day, Marshal Saint Ming Luo favored Lu Haotian and the two of them discussed the progress of the battle. There were more than 30 high-level corps personnel who were discussing the battle. These people were either Li Lingshan's most trusted people or the army's supreme generals and commanders. Sky Demon King and Marshal Saint Yunhao were here, as well as a few array masters. Marshal Saint Ming Luo invited Lu Haotian to discuss the war because she understood Lu Haoshan's importance. She was also aware of Lu Haoshan's position in front of Li Lingtian. He was definitely one of the top 10 most trusted figures. Their statuses were similar to his. However, Marshal Saint Ming Luo, Heavenly Monster King, and Marshal Saint Yunhao were the ones whom Li Lingtian trusted the most. Long De was the only one who had the highest status apart from Li Lingtian. Long De was willing to sacrifice his life for Li Lingtian. Everything was for Li Lingshan's sake. Long De was the first person Li Lingtian could trust. Although there were 30 million soldiers and countless powerhouses, they knew that the power of Lu Haotian, a saint array master, was not something that a few 9th heavenly layer martial saints could compare to. If they really angered Lu Haotian, the 2 million strong army would be like ants in front of them. An array formation that could destroy the heavens and earth was something that no one could resist. It was still fine for super experts, but an army below the rank of a martial saint did not have the slightest ability to resist the array formation of an array master. They had already seen it a few times. Every time, it was earth-shattering. Hundreds of thousands of troops would disappear without a trace. Furthermore, he had also received orders that the main forces of this battle would be split into 2 groups. One would be the main force, while the other would be the array formation attacks. Li Lingtian must have given Lu Haotian some kind of heaven-defying array formation to pass down this order. With such an array formation, it would definitely reduce the pressure on the army. He was also curious to see what kind of array Li Lingtian had given Lu Haotian and how terrifying its power was. Thank you for your concern, Brother Ming Luo. Thanks to young master's guidance, my array Dao cultivation has already recovered completely. My current array Dao cultivation is much stronger than before. If I use the 9 heavens destruction array again, I won't be in such a sorry state. The others have almost recovered. However, we can't do anything for the next 2 days because our 2 sets of array formations are still being practiced. Lu Haotian said with a smile. The 2 of them had similar cultivation levels and were Li Lingshan's most trusted people. Furthermore, they did not interact much with each other in the past. Now that they were working together for Li Lingtian, they were naturally united. The friendship between them was also very good. After all, comrades were comrades who lived their lives. On the battlefield, comrades were the other half of one's life. Only unity could lead to victory. As a holy array master and the only holy array master in the army, he was responsible for the defense and attack of the battle. He had to communicate with Marshal Saint Ming Luo. That's good. Young master is currently in seclusion. I wonder if he will appear in this battle. Therefore, we can't rely on him. The young lord has already given the order for the 2 of us to join forces and jointly attack the kingdom of heaven's roars. At that time, I will properly witness the might of Brother Lu's array Dao. Marshal Saint Ming Luo was relieved when she heard that Lu Haoshan's array Dao cultivation had recovered. She looked excited. That's natural. If young master has to do it personally every time, us subordinates would be neglecting our duties. At that time, well, definitely let Brother Ming witness the power of our array Dao and let the army of heaven's roars capital city tremble in front of the array Dao. I wonder what Brother Ming plans to do. Lu Haotian revealed a bright smile. In front of his own people, he was completely unrestrained and could do whatever he wanted. In the end, he asked Marshal Saint Ming Luo. They trusted each other and knew that she would not betray Li Lingtian. Otherwise, he would not have asked about Marshal Saint Ming Luo's battle. After all, this was a battle between the 30 million soldiers and the kingdom of heaven's roars. The outcome was unpredictable. Marshal Saint Ming Luo, who was the commander-in-chief, controlled the entire situation. He shouldn't have asked, but there was no animosity between the 2 of them. They trusted each other, so there was nothing to hide. 30 million troops are attacking the capital city of heaven's roars. Although the strength of the army isn't much different from the kingdom of heaven's roars, the kingdom of heaven's roars has countless experts. Compared to the kingdom of heaven's roars, it's still very far off. Moreover, the young master has already secretly ordered us to be extremely careful in this war. There might be changes in this war. Otherwise, I will also station troops in Raincloud City. I just want to find a way to get the best of both worlds before taking action. Marshal Saint Ming Luo said earnestly. When they were still in 100 Spirit Capital City, the army would have to wait for 10 days to half a month before they could reorganize and set off. However, they received Li Lingshan's order to attack the Nanfeng Kingdom and Yuan Kingdom with all their might. Furthermore, he had specially instructed them to be extremely careful. There might be changes to their lives along the way. Marshal Saint Ming Luo could not figure out what had caused Li Lingtian to be so cautious. There must be some terrifying existence in the three kingdoms. However, the two kingdoms did not put in the slightest effort to attack. They basically did not put up any resistance, and they did not discover any powerful and terrifying existences. As a result, his heart grew heavier because Li Lingtian would not make groundless accusations. Something that could make Li Lingtian take it seriously was no ordinary matter. Now that things had come to this, he also understood that all the armies and experts had gathered in the Kingdom of Heaven's Roars. Moreover, there might be super experts in the Kingdom of Heaven's Roars. Therefore, he had not made a move all this time and had instead stopped at Raincloud City. The army reorganized themselves and prepared to fight at any moment. The entire battlefield had been scouted by the Carefree Empire army, and there were no conspiracies. Chapter 807, Mysterious Expert, 1. But even so, they felt that something was wrong. Li Lingtian was a first firmament martial saint whose strength was comparable to a martial god. 2 martial god powerhouses had been killed by Li Lingtian. The 3 great kingdoms must have some tricks up their sleeves if they were to gather together to deal with Li Lingtian. If nothing could be seen from the army, it meant that there were super experts. Now, the Kingdom of Heaven's Roar's army of 20 million was facing the Freedom Empire's 30 million. They did not have the slightest advantage, and the super experts of the two armies were also almost the same. Thus, the battle was a battle of life and death. Putting aside his other schemes, as the commander of the 3 armies, he could not be careless. In such a battle, one had to use strange methods and tactics to defeat the opponent, and it had to be a complete victory. Otherwise, even if they won, it would be a tragic victory. I also feel that something is wrong. Although the strength of the Kingdom of Heaven's Roars is powerful, it is still not enough to fight with the young lord. The Kingdom of Heaven's Roars actually dares to fight with the young master. It must be because they have some confidence. The invisible threat is the greatest threat. The young master has passed down the array formation. We will try our best to comprehend the array formation in the shortest time possible. Hopefully, we can use the array formation to help the army. We can't do anything about other things. This time, we will use 2 formations. One is a destructive formation, and the other is a confinement formation. These formations were arranged by the young master, so we don't dare to use them casually this time. Moreover, everyone knows the strategy of our Xiaoyao Empire's war. The other party has also taken precautions against the formation path. After Lu Haotian heard Marshal Saint Ming Luo's words, he also felt that the situation was serious. No matter how he looked at it, the Kingdom of Heaven's Roars had a conspiracy. It was just that he could not see it for the time being. Moreover, Lu Haotian had already guessed something from the array formation that Li Lingtian had passed down and everything that had happened in the Kingdom of Heaven's Roars. However, he could not be sure. Then the army will wait for 2 days. When Brother Lu is ready, we will make our plans. I believe that the young lord will personally fight this time. Marshal Saint Ming Luo, Lu Haotian, the other experts, Marshal Saint Yunhao, and the others discussed for a while. They had no objections and decided to wait until they had comprehended the array Dao before taking action. The most important thing now was to defend and not let the Kingdom of Heaven's Roars harass Tianshui City. After a discussion, they left. All the important figures lived together. Basically, they were all gathered together. This was also the center of the experts. This way, they would not have to worry about the other party assassinating the higher-ups of the army. Following that, the Xiaoyao dynasty army reorganized and prepared for a great battle. Lu Haoshan's subordinates also sped up their comprehension of the array formation. After they were familiar with the array formation, the battle would begin. Sir Hai, the Carefree Empire has reorganized the 100 Spirit Kingdom, the Nanfeng Kingdom, and the Yuan Kingdom. They have an army of 30 million and countless experts. They have already arrived at Raincloud City. It's no different from an army approaching the city. I wonder how confident Sir Hai is. In the Imperial Palace of Heaven's Roar's capital city, hundreds of super powerhouses gathered together. Each of these powerhouses was at the 9th firmament of the martial saint realm. Moreover, there were more than 10 false martial god realm experts. Their strength was incomparably terrifying. This was because these powerhouses were the most powerful powerhouses from the Southwind Kingdom, the Epsilon Kingdom, and the Kingdom of Heaven's Roars. They had all gathered here to defeat Li Lingshan's Carefree Empire. This was also the final battle. Either the Carefree dynasty was destroyed and Li Lingtian fell, or the 4 great kingdoms were completely destroyed. The 4 kingdoms had already reached this stage, and the 100 Spirit Kingdom was completely destroyed. The remaining 3 kingdoms naturally did not dare to destroy it, so they could only join forces to fight. The king of the Kingdom of Heaven's Roars, Xiao Yuanwu, had given up when he saw the kingdoms being unified by the Xiaoyao dynasty. However, he did not dare to speak loudly now, lest he offended the few super experts in front of him. Looking at the 4 black-robed experts below the hall, his expression was extremely ugly. Xiao Yuanwu, look at you. If we don't make a move, the Kingdom of Heaven's Roars will vanish into thin air. The arrival of the Carefree dynasty's army is exactly what we want to see. As long as the Carefree dynasty's army arrives at the capital city of Heaven's Roars, even if the Carefree dynasty is destroyed, Li Lingtian will vanish into thin air. When Li Lingtian and the Carefree dynasty are destroyed, this world will be yours. Are you doubting my methods? Hai Jiaming said calmly. His expression was calm and he was not afraid of Li Lingtian at all. As he finished his sentence, his eyes turned sharp as he stared at Xiao Yuanwu. The other 3 black-robed experts also revealed a terrifying aura. Immediately, the entire hall was filled with a destructive aura. Even if everyone present was a 9th heavenly layer martial saint, they could not withstand this destructive aura. Their faces revealed a shocked expression. Sir Hai, please calm down. Sir Hai, please calm down. Yes, I've filtered it. With Sir C's martial god cultivation base, the 4 of you will definitely be able to destroy Li Lingtian. By then, the Kingdom of Heaven's Roars will be able to wipe out the Freedom Dynasty. Qiao Yuan's body trembled when he felt the sharp gaze. The pressure and aura of a martial god powerhouse was not something a mere martial saint could withstand at all. There were hundreds of martial saints present, but in front of the 4 black-robed experts, they were completely trash. That's right. Please calm down, Sir Hai. Sir Hai is a mighty martial god powerhouse. Li Lingtian is nothing in front of the 4 of you. With Sir Hai and the other 3 taking action, the Xiaoyao dynasty will definitely vanish. When the time comes, we will need the help of Pavilion Wanghai, Sir Baiyun Tian, Sir Baiyun Bian, and Sir Clearwater. That's right. Please calm down, sirs. All of a sudden, the experts in the hall trembled. If the 4 martial god experts were really angry, everyone here would disappear in the blink of an eye. There was a wolf in front and a tiger behind. Li Lingshan's Carefree dynasty was in Raincloud City. If they attacked, they would have no chance of winning. Now, there were still 4 martial god powerhouses here. Although they were helping the Heaven's Roar's capital city, facing 4 martial god powerhouses, they all understood that even if they defeated the Carefree Empire, they would still fall into the hands of the 4 martial god powerhouses. They would not have a good life in the future. Are you worthy of me getting angry? Since I'm in a good mood this time, I can help you with the array formation. Other than that, you'll have to handle the rest on your own. Leave Li Lingtian to us. We're only working together to eliminate Li Lingtian. Although Li Lingtian is only a first firmament martial saint, he's not a simple character. He has something that we need. Otherwise, do you think I'd have nothing better to do? Remember, we will only help you once. You will have to do the rest on your own. Alright, you guys do as you see fit. Hai Jiaming's sharp eyes gradually disappeared as he spoke. His eyes were filled with disdain. When he mentioned Li Lingtian, his face revealed a deep murderous intent. After saying a few words, he turned around and walked out of the hall. The other 3 black-robed experts also turned around and left. After the 4 black-robed experts left, the destructive aura in the hall slowly disappeared. All the experts swayed, as if they could not stand steadily and were about to fall to the ground. Sigh, things have come to this. There's no turning back. We all know Li Lingtian's character. Either we're destroyed or Li Lingtian is destroyed. In the future, everyone should be more careful. We can't rely on them. Qiao Yuan sighed. His face was pale, and he looked as if he had aged several decades. He had originally planned to submit to the Carefree Empire. This way, he could also protect his position. Moreover, he might even have a chance in the future. However, he had never expected that 4 martial god experts would appear. In front of the martial god, he was simply an ant. At this point, it was impossible to turn back. Boom! 2 days later, a shocking war drum sounded in the originally quiet Raincloud city. The sound of the war drums shook the sky, and the entire Raincloud city heard it. When the war drums fell, the 3 armies gathered. All the experts and citizens of Raincloud city were watching from the top of the city wall. Seeing the might of the 30 million soldiers of the Carefree dynasty, their blood boiled. A moment later, the 3 armies gathered after the war drums sounded. Instantly, the 30 million soldiers formed a powerful square formation that stretched for hundreds of miles. Tens of thousands of super experts were gathered around these armies. A destructive aura soared into the sky, piercing through the clouds and reaching the 9 heavens. The space continuously trembled. Tong, tong, tong. Bang, bang, bang. The war drums became even more intense. The sound of the war drums resounded throughout the world, causing the blood of the army to boil. Roar! 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 At the same time, as the war drums fell, the 30 million soldiers shouted at the same time. The destructive sound waves seemed to tear the void apart. This was momentum, the true morale of an army. In front of this, even a 9th firmament martial saint felt insignificant. A martial saint powerhouse could only be destroyed in front of this momentum. Those who obey will prosper. Those who rebel will die. Sweep the Black Continent. Unify the world. Martial Saint Ming Luo stood on the huge war god and shouted with a powerful aura. Below, the 30 million soldiers also responded. At this moment, the earth and the sky changed color in front of the aura of the 30 million soldiers. The citizens and experts of Raincloud City finally understood what power was, what an army was, and what an aura was. This was power, this was an army, this was an aura. To pave a path for young Master Dis Empire, are you willing to follow me to conquer the world? Marshal Saint Ming Luo looked at the 30 million soldiers and asked loudly. As the commander-in-chief of the 3 armies, he naturally had the means to lead the army and also the means to raise the morale of the army. At this moment, he was the true commander of the 3 armies, the ruler of the 3 armies. Chapter 808, Enemies on a Narrow Road. Lamb willing to follow the commander-in-chief to conquer the world. Follow young Master Dis' footsteps and unify the world. The entire army shouted in unison, and their momentum soared into the sky like a whirlwind. His aura reached an extreme. All the experts and the army were boiling with blood. The hot blood of men was displayed at this moment. I give the order. The army will advance quickly and destroy the Heaven Roar's capital city. Marshal Saint Ming Luo said loudly and waved the flag in his hand. Immediately, the 30 million troops changed their direction and moved quickly toward the capital city of Heaven's Roars with the sound of the war drums. Instantly, the entire world trembled under the feet of the 30 million strong army. The experts and citizens of Raincloud City looked at the carefree dynasty's army with excitement. This was a true expert, a true army. At the same time, the experts of the Mystic Moon Empire and the other kingdoms also looked at the carefree empire's army from afar. They were extremely shocked. Was the free and unfettered dynasty really established 2 years ago? Such morale and strength, even if the kingdom had thousands of years of foundation, it might not have such an imposing manner. The aura of an army could not be cultivated over time. This required a powerful soul figure and faith. The carefree dynasty's army was made up of warriors. Warriors' belief was to become stronger and stronger. However, to become stronger, they needed pills. Li Lingtian was the divine martial continent's #1 holy alchemist, a godlike existence in the eyes of warriors. Ming Yen Air also followed Marshal Saint Ming Luo. She was extremely happy when she saw her third uncle's power. Naturally, he was extremely happy that his family could be so powerful. The more Marshal Saint Ming Luo acted like this, the more curious she was. What kind of expert could make her third uncle achieve such an achievement? Only when the master was stronger would his subordinates be stronger. A strong general had no weak soldiers. Third uncle was so powerful, so that mysterious figure should be even more domineering. Similarly, the powerhouses and secret agents from the various kingdoms and empires, as well as countless powerhouses who were busybodies, were also extremely curious. Although they had heard of Li Lingshan's reputation, not many people had seen him. Marshal Saint Ming Luo was so powerful now. He commanded 30 million troops and tens of thousands of experts. Moreover, he was only a 5th Sky Marshal Saint. The only way to control such a powerful force was to gain the trust of his master. To be able to train such a powerful subordinate, one could see how terrifying that mysterious and powerful figure was. Boom! 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 Bang! 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 War drums rumbled, and the sound of the army's footsteps echoed. The entire world trembled. The sound of the war drums shook the world and struck the hearts of the experts, stirring up the blood of the army and experts. The army charged towards the royal city of Heaven's Roars like a whirlwind. The 9-headed war god floated like 9 huge white clouds. Don't just look at the war god. Each war god could take away tens of thousands of powerhouses and armies. The air was mercilessly torn apart, and wherever the army passed, it was like a whirlwind. Boom! In 3 hours, the 30 million strong army had already arrived 100,000 miles away from the roaring Sky King city. The army had already settled down. Although a 3-hour march was nothing to an army formed by experts, the army had a rule that no war was allowed after the march. Moreover, when marching, one's aura would be consumed. Only after recuperating and accumulating morale would the real battle begin. The earth-shattering explosion jolted the Heaven Roar's capital city's army awake. Heaven Roar's capital city's army also stopped at 100,000 miles away, waiting for the Carefree Dynasty's army. This kind of confrontation was completely a destructive war, a war that would not stop until one of them died. Brother Lu, you prepare first. We have to use an array formation in this place to wipe out the morale of the Heaven Roar's capital city's army. Marshal Saint Ming Luo stood on the war god and looked at the 20 million soldiers in the distance. These 20 million soldiers belonged to the capital city of Heaven's Roars. If they wanted to enter the capital city of Heaven's Roars, it would be a battle to the death. An army of 30 million against an army of 20 million. Even if they managed to defeat the other party, their side would lose millions or even tens of millions. Once the Xiaoyao dynasty destroyed so many of their armies, their morale would be completely gone. Therefore, Marshal Saint Ming Luo didn't want to be frustrated here. The only way was to use an array. Alright, Brother Ming has the same thoughts as me. Leave the first vanguard to us. Brother Ming, order all the fire attribute soldiers and experts in the army to use the fire attribute to block. When the time comes, we will use the icebound 10,000 miles. Lu Haotian nodded and immediately agreed. He then asked Marshal Saint Ming Luo to pass down the order for all the soldiers to join hands and cast the fire element to resist the formation. After saying that, he left and went to another war god. Instantly, the three war gods formed a three-pronged formation. All of them were array masters and super experts. These super experts naturally protected the war god and the array masters. Furthermore, Li Lingtian had previously noticed that the array master would be easily destroyed without protection. Hence, he had instructed the array master to cast an array on the war god. With the war god's protection, there would not be a situation where the war god was defenseless. Give the order. All soldiers with fire attributes, prepare for fire attributes. Ice attribute experts will attack while fire attribute experts will defend. Marshal Saint Ming Luo watched Lu Haotian leave and quickly gave the order for all the experts to be prepared for a great battle. Boom! At this moment, a shocking spiritual energy appeared on the war god. The spiritual energy soared into the sky. At the same time that this shocking spiritual energy appeared, the other two war gods also released shocking spiritual energy. The shocking spiritual energy kept attacking the void, as if it wanted to destroy the void. Very soon, all the array masters on the war god cast their spells. The appearance of the spells made the three streams of spiritual energy in the air even more powerful. Gradually, the three war gods separated, and the area covered by spiritual energy expanded. This space began to tremble. The sound shook the sky, immediately making the army of the Heaven Roar's capital city on the opposite side horrified. Pay attention. Use the defensive formation to block the opponent's formation attack. Heaven Roar's capital city's army commander, Bai Tianjiao, was a 9th firmament Marshal Saint super powerhouse. When Bai Tianjiao saw the army of the Xiaoyao dynasty arrive and began to use array attacks without any warning, he was stunned. He did not dare to hesitate anymore and ordered the array masters of the army to set up a defensive array. Immediately, an old man in his 50s appeared in the army. He had an excited expression on his face, but this excited expression was also filled with hatred. He did not recognize the other experts, but Lu Haotian knew this old man. He had seen him in Liberty's sacred city last time and had even fought him once in the array Dao. Lu Haotian, the two of you joined forces last time. Now that Wu Jizi isn't here, let's see how you die this time. Wuqian Destruction Formation. Yao Tian shouted loudly. His voice spread throughout the space. The army of Xiaoyao dynasty and the army of Xiao Tian King City heard it. Similarly, Lu Haotian also heard this voice. His expression was extremely calm, and behind this calmness was excitement. Last time, when he teamed up with Wu Jizi, he almost destroyed Yao Tian. He didn't expect that Yao Tian was still fine. Now that they had encountered each other, they were enemies on a narrow road. I didn't kill you last time. This time, even if you have to go to heaven or earth, I will destroy you here and let you see what the array Dao is. Lu Haotian was shocked and felt lucky. The last time he met Yao Tian, the two of them had to work together to defeat him. Now, he did not expect Yao Tian to appear here. It seemed that Yao Tian was here specifically to take revenge on him. Fortunately, the array Dao that the young master had imparted to him was specifically targeted at Yao Tian. After Lu Haotian was injured, he asked for advice on how to deal with Yao Tian. After understanding Yaoshan's personality and array Dao cultivation, Li Lingtian learned everything about Yaoshan's past and provided him with a way to crack and kill him. After saying that, he cast the spell even faster. He was excited and looking forward to it. If he really killed Yao Tian here, it would be a help to the Xiaoyao dynasty. After all, killing Yao Tian would directly solve this problem. Boom! Boom! In the sky, two shocking array formations quickly formed. Yao Tian was still using the Wuqian destruction formation that he had used the last time. He was defeated by the two holy array masters last time. Now, he was unwilling and wanted to use this formation to destroy his opponent. This way, he could wipe out the hatred in his heart. Moreover, in his opinion, a holy array master was not his match at all. Naturally, he was not afraid of Lu Haotian at all. There were more than 50 million troops on both sides, and countless super experts, as well as countless experts and spies who were watching the battle, were all looking at these two shocking arrays. Now, before the final battle of the army, the pinnacle battle of array formation had begun. As long as either side failed, the army would suffer a devastating blow, and the array masters would also be destroyed. Attention, use the Heavenly Wind Divine Array. Transfer, freeze 10,000 miles. Heaven and Earth shift, star shift. Lu Haoshan's expression was serious, and the corners of his mouth had a cruel expression. The corners of his mouth moved continuously, and his voice was very soft. Only the array master on the three-headed war god could hear him clearly. Hearing Lu Haoshan's voice, all the array masters kept changing their hand seals. The array kept changing. The three destructive spiritual chi in the air kept fusing, and the space was quickly torn apart. Marshal Saint Ming Luo didn't know array Dao, but when she saw the holy array masters from both sides displaying their strongest array Dao, she was shocked and her heart was in her throat. If Lu Haotian failed, all the array masters would be injured or even killed, and the 30 million troops would also suffer a destructive blow. All of a sudden, all the troops and experts fell silent. Countless experts who were watching the battle also retreated far away, afraid of being caught in the fish pond. Boom! Boom! At this moment, two arrays had already appeared, forming a destructive cyclone that entered the void. Looking at the two destructive whirlpools, all the experts and the army were stunned. Their eyes were filled with fear, as if they had seen the end of the world. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.